Bashing. Hello.
We're live.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Okay, so we are back for the February live show for Slay and the Iron Man movies for the Avengers Initiative Reading Challenge. And then how about we go around and introduce ourselves again?
Yes. Oh, that means I'm first, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm Margaret. I'm the word nerd.
They put a 4 camp down.
Michelle and all these other lovely people.
I don't know, but he's not resin, so that's why.
Let them talk me into doing a crazy Avengers readathon, despite me being completely a DC girl. It's okay. I love MCU too.
We're
converting you. Oh, you'll never convert me. You're never going to get me to walk away from Catwoman. Just not going to happen. But anyways, I talk about fantasy and basically everything that's not horror or erotica I will talk about. So that's me.
Well, that's going to not work out because I only read horror erotica.
But see, I appreciate that because then I know it's very much not for me, Christine.
If Christine reads it, I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole.
I was more Christine, please. More I was saying, nope, there goes the train of thought. Who's next?
I guess I'll go. Okay, my name is Bree from Bree Bear McKay. I obviously talk about books, as you can guess from all of this. Oh my God, Christine. I talk about books and other things in life, just living life and doing all my things. And yeah, that's all I got to say. Go. Somebody go.
I'm Christine.
And she bullies me.
My channel name's on screen right now, so go ahead and click. I am from the other Christine that reads, and I talk about my dogs, and I talk about books sometimes. I'm currently working on a large project on Canada Reads this year, so take a look out for that if you're Canadian or interested.
You're also the only Canadian in the group.
Yes, I represent the other majority of the world that's not American. Oh, we lost our host. This is chaos.
Oh, no! Michelle! She'll be back.
Okay, Brianna, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Brianna. We're apparently embracing the chaos today.
It happens.
And I am pretty much an omnivore reader. I'll read pretty much anything but horror. I don't love horror. But sometimes one surprises me. Recently, there are more dogs on my channel than there are books.
People?
I think that there are actually, there's potentially that there's more dogs than books in my house right now. Not never mind. It's a bad joke.
No, I got it.
It feels like it.
However, I also know how many dogs you have, and I can count all of your books, so I can tell you that it's categorically untrue.
Just say, in front of 100 books, she's like, there's more dogs here.
Well,
Cruella de Vil.
last night when I was dating 13 of them, it felt like it.
Good thing about books, you do not have to give them a bath.
It's just we just kept bringing them up, and I'm like,
Are there any more puppies? Or are they... What?
It's okay. I think I saw the same number in golden retrievers this morning. So
there you go.
Just the kid. That's how many dogs I touched this morning too.
And I apparently have a 130-pound lap dog. He's literally sitting on my lap right now.
I mean, who trained him though?
A dog climbing onto your body when you need it is just the best feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay! Oh my gosh!
Michelle is back!
Mom,
That happened, and I was like, oh no!
I've had that happen because my internet went out one time when I was hosting. And
Yeah, I
Christy
remember
was
that.
on that one too.
suddenly I'm in charge of Margaret's channel. Oh no!
I mean, you are one of the few
Yes,
people that I would
Mitchell.
actually trust to be in charge.
You're like boobs.
Really? You trust Christine to direct your channel?
I don't trust me with my channel.
Is she not the baby of the group?
She is the baby of the group. But I also feel like she's the one I've probably known the longest, I think.
As long as I've been alive.
Or at least that we've been friends the longest. No, it's not as long as you've been alive. I think we would not be, no, I'm just kidding. We would definitely not be friends if you had known me as long as I've been alive.
Max.
Shut your fucking mouth.
Could you guys hear that?
Yes, we did.
So the whole I just heard you say that.
Oh no! Michelle is gone again.
They understand if they haven't.
Oh man, this is so chaotic.
Okay, so what are we all reading right now?
We're not doing reading sprints, we're doing Avengers.
I know, but I'm trying to buy Michelle some time.
Oh, okay, cool.
How many Avengers we have?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Margaret, how many Avengers do you have? Margaret leaves.
Bye.
No.
So I am a Capricorn, which means I'm stubborn AF.
An excuse for anything, really.
And I refuse to finish any other boards before I have finished Cap's board.
No.
And
What was that fighting with
like this day.
which is awesome.
I decided to do a real nice chunky nonfiction. You would like Christine. You would actually like this book.
I mean,
Okay, send it to me.
Fine, I guess.
I have where is my phone?
Mom, you're back.
Okay.
She already has a 3-year-old. She does not need a grown-ass adult. Uh-oh.
Choose this morning, so
It's all right.
okay.
Max is still being a little shit, apparently. So
Oh, constant. You got. Yeah, there you went.
Your dogs are so much better trained than your sister's dog.
well, her sister, how long has Jamie had him?
She adopted him in April, and it's really sad actually. His owner died. His first owner died, and then his second owner died. Like while he was in the house, and like he's just had he's on his third home, and he was never really exercised or anything.
Yeah, she's got a lot of work cut out for her, and she's had him less than a year. So
Yeah.
okay, it's gonna take time.
What are we talking
He's a pretty
about
good
now?
boy.
We're
Oh,
talking
dogs
about
again,
Max.
because we didn't know what to do without you.
Okay.
We started talking about which Avengers we have, and then it kind of spiraled into dogs.
As
Again.
usual.
It's Max's fault.
Surprised? No.
Margaret was talking about this. She still doesn't have any Avengers. She's stubborn.
Because I am a loser.
Shuri.
Nice. I gotta get Steve first. I can't get any other Avengers until I have Steve. Steve has to happen first. He is the most important.
I have 6 Avengers.
I think I do too.
I'm jealous.
I have let's see, I just got Cap, Iron Man, Hulk, Black Widow. I'm finishing my last one for Thor right now. My last book for Thor right now.
7.
Yes.
I need to sit down with my stickers that are over here. I need to sit down with my stickers and actually figure out what the heck I'm doing. I just haven't gotten these in my bullet journal yet. So I probably have finished at least a couple based on the books I've read. I just haven't sat down to figure them out.
You've read books that don't match prompts.
I have books that I need to read that match prompts, and then I have books that I'm just reading. And that's just how it's going to work. I'm gonna, anything I read this year can possibly be set to a prompt. I'm going in with specific TBRs, but I'm not afraid to change it up and, I don't know, read Chain of Gold instead of To Best the Boys, because
Read a Chain of Gold instead of anything.
well, I mean, right now what I want to read is Chain of Iron, but
Yeah.
Did you go request it?
no, I did not, because it's shipping on Tuesday.
Yeah, we
for
both
me.
pre-ordered it, and we're
Yeah,
gonna read it together.
I don't know how much together this. It's probably just going to be me screaming at you every third sentence.
But it will be in 3 months because she won't read it now.
No, I'm reading this one now.
I've only read 4 books, so I have not. I'm this close to completing Shuri, and that's it.
Shuri's a good one to start with.
Right? She has a good power.
It helps if I can see comments. Now I'm less confused.
I have everyone but Hawkeye, Shuri, and War Machine.
Nice.
I'm missing. I don't have my iPad in front of me, but I'm not quite done with Falcon or Rhodey or Thor. I think those might be the only 3.
I hustled so hard to finish Falcon. And I started reading 3 different books that could potentially have a flying character in them. Just because I just couldn't. Yeah.
That's
I hustled.
funny.
I'm curious about your headphones, Christine. Is that like what's going on there?
They're ugly. So I quit my job, so I had to give back my work headset. So I no longer had the nice work headset that was like sound counseling and everything. Not counseling. And so I ordered gaming headphones off Amazon, and this was like the best review for the best price. But there was no other options than gray camo. So I was like, you know what? I touch duck corpses. Camo's appropriate.
I mean, at least it's gray camo and not like.
I'm not gonna lie. My first thought was, did she put tinfoil all over those? Because that's kind of.
Hold on, guys.
It's really aliens from getting in my head.
I don't see the headphones. I can't see them.
Oh yeah, they're invisible. Would you guys make fun of me if I told you
It took us all a second.
I bought? Oh gosh, you guys don't want to know what I bought for duck hunting training, and then I'm gonna actually go shoot ducks someday.
If it's a gun, I trust you with it more than I trust my parents. So,
or most. Oh.
I walk into recycling bins.
I know, but I don't think you'd ever intentionally aim it at a person ever, and you definitely wouldn't aim it at them based on the color of their skin. So.
No, I would aim it at them based on the behavior of their dogs. You know what? I'm more like
Crap.
Fair.
Don't get near my bitches.
When the boy dogs come a courting.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't look like a golden. You can't have my ladies.
Yikes.
I'm an 18th century dad.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't we talk about stuff?
Yeah, we should talk about stuff.
Weapons. Why don't we talk about?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Michelle, just tell me to shut up at any point.
I would never.
This is why. Okay, let's see. Oh. Look at Anne-Marie retracts future invite for Anne-Marie and Christine's dogs to have a play date. I mean, so here's the thing. The dogs are some of the best trained dogs, it seems, that you will ever meet. The human, I don't know about.
It's fair.
All right. Do we want to see what people in the chat have got? What mission logs they've completed?
Anne-Marie finished Thor last night.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, did you finish Homegoing during or shortly after the reading sprints? She was reading it last. I was like, oh, I bet that was a Christine pick, and she was like, yes, that was a Christine pick.
Whose favorite book is that? What?
Christine, I got this book because of you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Everybody get into Ghanaian fiction, specifically Yajiasi, just because I told you to.
I definitely have Transcendent Kingdom. Homegoing's been on my list since, I think, longer than I've known you, Christine.
It's been on my list longer than I've known you. Because you know what? It came out on like my birthday one year. And then she was on Seth Meyers talking about it. And I was like, wow. And then didn't read it till I got onto BookTube. Or no, just before I got onto BookTube.
I don't even remember who suggested it, but I was like, this sounds like a really good book. So,
yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Who else has got some boards? Danielle Richard has Hulk, Iron Man, Black Widow, Cap, and War Machine.
Nice. I'm seeing a surprising lack of Falcon. What? Wait.
I'm feeling.
Did not everybody collect Falcon?
Well, about that, I haven't collected any. So
yeah, same.
But Margaret, Falcon Falcon could count for your little stubborn rule.
He's not Steve Rogers though.
You said Cap.
I mean, okay, but I specifically meant Steve Rogers.
That's not what you said.
I mean, I was gonna say I meant the one I would fuck, but I would in fact be willing to be fucked by either of them.
Okay, thank you.
Anthony,
I was like, wait a minute.
I'm gonna be honest. I fell in love with Anthony and Seb as people before I fell in love with their characters. Just hearing some of the
That's
antics
completely
that they
fair.
do.
That's completely fair.
So, ooh, nice.
Good. That's acceptable. Hustle for Falcon. He comes out on Disney Plus next month
Yep.
Wow.
as the leading star in a show
Wow.
that's gonna be gay.
If it's not gay, we're all rioting.
Yeah, I quit being a person.
Like that is a legitimate reason. For legal purposes, I'm joking.
Liz has Falcon,
Yay!
but she has all the boards, so
Wow.
that's hustling.
That's my goal for next month because I managed. Be proud of me, Michelle. I managed to get my TBR for March down to 4 books.
And you're going to try to get all of the boards with 4 books?
No,
She's
but
a
I
wizard.
only need to read 4 books next month, so that means that I will be able to actually get caught up on everything I was supposed to be reading. No, not all of the boards that I've been planning to read because I'm adding the original Avengers, like the 2-month Avengers. I'm going to start adding those when I start doing 3 a month because that was my goal, was to do 3 a month until I had everybody.
See, mine's the complete opposite because there are so many books that I have to read in March, and so it's I'm trying to be ambitious like Margaret.
I have not filmed my TBR yet, so I don't know what I'm reading.
I'm not filming a TBR for March. I think I might be switching to like seasonal TBRs because I don't want to be doing a monthly TBR, a TBR for this because that gets me lots of views and watch time, and then a TBR for whatever other like. So it'll be like I'll do the TBR for this, and then like if I'm doing any other readathons, I'll do TBRs for those.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah,
I do whatever I want whenever I want to do it, and I have 7 boards.
Yeah.
I just kind of do whatever too. I just like whatever I feel like, either whatever I feel like reading at the moment, or usually what I'm like, I have 1 or 2 books away to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like or it'll be like based off of what videos I plan on doing. So like I was reading Perks leading up to when I was planning on posting Perks.
Yeah.
The video about it, which ended up changing my plan anyway, so it's not even up yet.
Yeah.
But
Did you ever end up finishing it?
I read it I finished it. I
Okay.
have feelings. It was a very conflicting experience. I have thoughts.
Wait, which book is that?
Perks of being a
Wallflower.
wallflower.
Oh, I read that last year. I really liked it.
Yeah, it was very conflicting. Like at first, I thought I was gonna absolutely hate it, which was sad because before I went into it, I was expecting it was gonna be great. But then I started it and I was like, oh, so it's this kind of party. And then I was like, okay, because like I anticipated it just being, like I thought it might be hard hitting, might not be hard hitting, but I knew like just based off of the title, that's all I really knew was that it was going to be about somebody who is a wallflower. That's all I had. That's my only thing I knew going into it. I didn't even know it was in epistolary format, like knew nothing. So it was an experience, but when I go into like choosing what I'm going to read, I kind of just go based off of what I plan on doing for that, like either videos, or if I've read a lot of fantasy, then I'll read a contemporary. If I've read a lot of contemporaries, then I'll read, that kind of thing. Like try to keep it from being back to back all the same thing. Otherwise it all mixes up in my brain. But other than that kind of thing, no plan.
Yeah.
No plan.
I sort of did that because I'm running Vaultathon again, obviously next month. So the Vaultathon group book is one that fits one of the books. There is one of the books that I'm using. I'm like, so.
Am I supposed to know what that is yet?
forum?
We've already discussed this, but the video goes up tomorrow, Christine. Don't worry, I'll
Just
catch you
tell
up.
me what to do.
I'm so excited.
Fallon, if your library has Hoopla, Shuri is on Hoopla. If that helps.
It depends on the library because my Hoopla does not have a lot of the books that you say it has.
Really?
So I think, yeah.
Well,
It's because in Florida they don't want you to read.
Rachel has the same thing, I guess. It's like literally any queer book. They're like, nah, we're not putting that on there.
Well, I have some queer books because I'm reading one right now. I'm reading Patsy for Blackathon, and it's really, really interesting. But I was surprised that it was on Hoopla. Like, it seems like some of the like the obscure titles I can find on there sometimes, but not necessarily the more popular ones. So, anyways.
I'm a terrible moderator. I just had this complete what?
You are doing fantastic. This is fun.
I'm trying.
Wrangling us is hard on the best of days.
Especially when one of us is not in charge of the channel.
Yeah, we're a handful.
I'm 100% sure Margaret's the only one that can do it.
We're the kids that you separate in class.
We're not. We're only like 50.
Kids that you separate in
Margaret's the
class.
grown-up of
Margaret and I would not be allowed to sit near each other.
That is true.
100%.
Also, it's why I would not be a teacher because I'm like, I would be that teacher that ends up hitting a child with a stapler because they made me so
You
mad.
say I wouldn't be a teacher because I don't like children.
I like specific children.
Good children, yes.
It's kind of like how romance works for me. I have to be attached to the people that children belong to before I care about those children.
Or just like every once in a while you meet a really like smart, funny kid and you're like, what a good kid. You're going to be a fun adult.
Yeah.
But then you meet 10 sticky things that are very weird and you're like, oh no.
Children as a group don't necessarily work for me. Children I'm attached to, I can work with. Like
I agree with that statement.
But it's also like it's nice to give them back to the parents.
Yes, that is that.
Yeah.
And then look at your dog and think, oh my God, you can't talk.
Oh, my favorite age
When
was
you
the
become
babies.
a parent because you love your kid. When you're a parent, you love your kid to death, and then you meet other people's kids, and you're like, "What is going on there?"
I believe it.
I mean, I ask that about myself all the time. So
My mom would like be mortified if she was like volunteering, if she ever had to like clean up another kid's like snotty nose. She'd be like, nope, I only touch my children. Nope, other children are disgusting. Like mine are the only good clean ones. Like
I like children one-on-one in small doses.
yeah.
I don't like it. I did kids ministry for like 7 years before finally being like, you know what, I hate this. Why am I still doing this? Because it was hard because my friends' kids were in where I was doing the ministry. And so they were in, like, I just got to the point where my best friend's little girl was in my group, which is what I'd been waiting for. But like, I find my last day as a children's, as a group leader, one of the kids threw stuff at me and I was like, oh my God. Okay.
I remember babysitting one day and the kid just stood up on his kitchen chair and started swearing. And I was like,
oh, okay.
Sir, can you not?
Those are my
I'm like,
children. Those will be my children.
Why did you do this? Like, what did this get for you? And I think it's like moments like that where I'm like, when do you learn to think? When does that come?
How old was he?
Like 10.
Oh, okay. That makes. Oh, he felt like he was being rebellious and a big boy.
I like children the closer to fetus they are and the closer to adult they are. So I like babies and toddlers and teenagers. It's the children specifically I dislike. Yeah, I really like babies. Yeah, like I've had babies just like vomit all over me, and I'm like, it's so cute. But like the minute it can like say stupid things, I'm like, no.
I remember there was one time I ended up like holding my friend's youngest or only son while he was screaming he was like an infant screaming his head off while she dealt with her daughter. But it was just one of those things I'm like, okay, there's nothing I can do for you right now. And it didn't even bother me. But
you know who else wouldn't like children?
Who?
Iron Man and Iron Man 1.
Yes.
Oh, right. I was literally thinking about that. I was like, you know,
Iron Man 2 would not like children either.
You're right. Tony Stark circa 2008, 2010. Not a kids guy.
Not a kid guy.
That's true.
I feel like a lot of guys are not kid guys until they find someone they like and they're like, oh, I want to procreate with this being.
Or until they have a weird dream where they have a kid and then they're like, let's make this kid a real kid.
I guess that could apply as well.
When they see the possibilities.
Spoilers, Christine.
Kid would like throw up on him, and he would be like, "This kid's so cute."
I would say Rhodey would be good with kids.
That would be Thor, yeah.
It's like when he saw the possibility or the potential to like have a family. That's that's when he was like, oh wow.
If you look at it, he has so many issues with his dad and how his dad raised him, which was a very like that era way that guys were.
Thank God somebody fixed that for him.
So, Christine, stop. Michelle, you are allowed to mute her. You have my permission.
Not naming any names.
Anyways, so thoughts. Are we gonna get into the movies now?
Yeah, we start with Iron Man. Iron Man 1.
Is there anything non-spoiler that we want to discuss before we start getting into spoilery stuff?
It's been out since 2008.
Oh, yeah, Maggie wasn't spoiled.
Oh, okay. I guess we won't. We'll worry about that when we get to the book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the book is fair. Iron Man's been out
If you haven't
longer than I've been
So this
an
is
adult.
the first time I've seen it since I saw it in theaters. I realized that with most of the Marvel movies, most of them I saw it in theaters and then just didn't go back. I think Black Panther is the only one.
Yeah.
I've seen Winter Soldier at least 3 times.
Well, we know that.
Copy.
Like I used to go to them with my
Actually-
friends when I was in high school, and now I'm like, darn, I'm just a depressed adult now.
I mean, it doesn't help that you can't go to the movies right now.
Ours are literally closed. Yeah, I can't go.
Ours are open.
Ours are open. I just don't trust them.
Yeah, I just don't go.
But we're going back into like green soon in Canada. Green is like our like lower COVID level. So I'm hoping that when Black Widow comes out, that I'll be able to go and sob.
I am not
Briar.
going anywhere until I have been vaccinated. Well, not anywhere, but like I am limiting. I'm choosing specific places where I feel comfortable. Like I feel like there's enough people and stuff that we have that movie theaters. I don't feel like they're able to really effectively do those measures with the number of people and everything that's happening.
I'll buy out a theater just to say farewell to Homegirl. But yeah. I mean what? Nothing. Let's talk about Iron Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Christine.
So
this is why we can't have nice things.
yes.
Just call me Tom Holland.
Okay, speaking of Tom Holland, we have to discuss that little teaser thing about the movie title. Was that not the funniest thing?
That was.
Why did I have it spoiled?
That was, but Margaret, Iron Man.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Peter Pan.
This is the only time I will beg you to
blinders
talk
for
about Iron
y'all,
Man.
so you can only focus on one thing.
Okay, so
I
Iron
like
Man.
the
Here's the problem.
Whoa, you flew.
Don Cheadle being Rhodey.
Will you repeat that again? Max was barking.
I was gonna say I really liked the transition that they did between Terrence Howard being Rhodey and Don Cheadle being Rhodey.
It was fantastic script writing. It was just like, it's me. Deal with it.
Yeah, completely. Because it's like you got a completely different. I think Terrence Howard playing Rhodey versus Don Cheadle playing Rhodey. It's two different, completely different Rhodey's.
Yeah.
And I
It's
actually
not the same
preferred
Rhodey.
Don Cheadle's a little bit.
I
feel like
completely agree.
Don Cheadle is a little more willing to like stick it to Tony and put Tony in his place.
I also think that what the MCU has leaned into really well is the market for like comedy action. And I think Don Cheadle fits that so well.
Yeah.
Like, he's really just funny. And I don't think Terrence Howard like brought any humor to Rhodey in the same way.
Yeah.
It's interesting because like he left Iron Man because like he wanted to get paid as much as Downey Jr. But I don't know how well the later movies would have played without Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle.
I feel like Don Cheadle makes some of the movies.
He delivers. He
Yeah.
definitely delivers that emotional impact that Terrence Howard didn't have.
Yeah.
Terrence Howard has
Yeah.
that like very cavalier kind of attitude, and that's why the two roadies are completely different. Like we just saw a completely different roadie.
Yeah, he was just too formal for the role. I feel like
Well,
he
and
just
I
a
think
formal
the
element and
first
wasn't
one,
like, chill enough.
he could have grown into it because I think
Yeah.
in the first, like Iron Man 1, he needed to be a little bit more formal.
Yeah.
That's true.
If they would have continued that formality through, especially in later movies,
Mm.
And I also think that it's important that they got a dark-skinned black man playing Rhodey, because in the comics he's a dark-skinned black man, and
Yeah.
like there definitely is some colorism in the casting there.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that Don Cheadle has the role.
Yes.
Mhm.
I totally forgot who the villains were. So when y'all were talking about villains, I was like, who in the heck are you talking about?
I mean, I didn't remember any of their names. I vaguely remembered what they did. I remembered vaguely Iron Man, not Iron Man 2. I think there's very little of Iron Man 2 I remembered.
On purpose, it's called trauma blocking.
No, I mean, so going into Iron Man 1, like I was so psyched. I was a very different person at that time. And Iron Man, the cartoon show, was the first real like Marvel cartoon show I watched. Batman was the first that I ever watched, but that was so I had this childhood nostalgia. That wasn't even a conscious choice on my part. That was my mother's fault, or our TV programming's fault. But like, so I remember going into it with so much nostalgia when we watched that first one and being like, "Oh yeah, that's Tony Stark. I recognize that character." Now I have zero memory of that cartoon, and I'm like, "Oh man."
Like, who are we defeating? What?
Yeah, we don't really do a good job of saying their
the only
names.
reason I do is because I use subtitles on movies.
Same. I always have subtitles on. But you know what? It's funny that you say that though, because I forgot about Justin Hammer, but I remember Ivan Vanko, because he has a fucking bird. And I remember being a kid being like, that's dope.
Right.
And now I hate birds.
Bird is gold.
But he's got a bird.
That's so
From,
funny.
like, Iron Man 3, literally, I can remember nothing about it.
Oh, I remember that one. That was the one I remember the most of.
Yeah,
That's the one I remember, unfortunately.
It is legitimately blocked out of my mind.
So, Brianna, maybe you do yourself a favor.
Also, Hulk. I don't remember Hulk.
Yeah.
Also, just maybe Brianna, you do yourself a favor on the days that we're watching those, and you're just like you're sick that day. You can't watch.
Just have
You
a
don't need to
day.
remember.
It's fine.
I don't remember Iron Man 3 is probably.
Not to get into spoiler territory, but Iron Man 3 was the first one that I actually recognized some of what I'd read in the comics.
I'm sure that once I start watching it, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, okay, I remember that. But like literally,
Yeah.
like, today was like, what's the plot of Iron Man 3? I'd be like, not a clue.
Casting Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin, the same man who played Mahatma Gandhi, a white man. It's a whole choice that Marvel made. It's a whole choice.
Yeah. They made a whole show but we can't get into that. We'll save that discussion for when we talk about Iron Man 3.
For Iron Man 3, everyone's favorite film.
Iron Man 1, what do we want to?
I liked it more than I thought I would.
I did too.
Yeah, same.
I liked it less.
I don't even remember. I mean, and then I saw, for me, I always look for the product placements. That's like the one thing I always look for.
That's funny.
Well, I think we were all talking in the chat, and like, really, he wants a burger and he gets Burger King.
Burger King?
Have you heard of the works?
That's a choice. Then again, anytime I've eaten at Burger King, I've gotten food. Doesn't matter.
I've never eaten at Burger King in my whole life.
Do yourself a favor and do that tradition.
Is there Burger Kings in Canada?
There are. I avoid them in KFC like the plague. But I do eat at Taco Bell because I am trash.
Me too. But I can tell you stories.
I probably will still eat there after.
I mean,
I had no idea who that is, and I didn't know there was any drama involved. I just was watching it.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I just remember him from the Expendables.
Wasn't he in Black Stallion?
Not really, but
Was it?
Mickey Rourke.
Oh my god! What? Hold on.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
I'm pretty sure he was in Black Stallion because, wait, dogs. Why is there a dog section in his Wikipedia page?
did he just become
A spay neuter advocate?
Oh no.
A public service announcement for PETA?
I could possibly do the
Questions.
spay neuter advocate, but for PETA?
I'm glad we defeated him with our Mad Libs.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Leave your dog's genitals where they belong.
Well, I mean, I neutered her.
Because
The
he's
way
living with
you
his
said it for
mother.
me.
Because he's living with his mother. And if he impregnated his mother, it would be no good.
Wow, what a transition.
anyway, so Iron Man.
Iron Man.
So one of the things that really frustrated me, especially at the beginning of the movie, was how like lacking in nuance the whole terrorist plot was. I was just like,
Oh, so bad.
like, and this is coming off of having just spent the last like 6 months just listening to like story after story of how you get people who are rebelling and who are like why terrorists exist.
Think about when that was. Like when
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know, and I hate it.
that movie was pure military propaganda because it was when
It was
Iraq War
like
was-
worse than Captain America for that.
Yeah, no, that was like just
A bunch of white men sat down at a table at Marvel and were like, you know what would be easy? Convincing a bunch of Americans that there are some bad brown men in Afghanistan right now. They would kidnap our golden boy.
because
And
if
we're
you,
like, do we need to explain why they would do that? No. How they would do that? Not really.
no.
They just knew where the car was.
You're following me to this what?
like I get it. People will like kidnappings like that are a thing that happen, especially in countries that are
Oh,
dealing with war.
At war. Yeah.
But it was just one of those things. I was like, there was such an opportunity there to have the one guy that was like the big bad, but also be like, this is why these people, the ordinary soldiers, are involved. They're involved because we're bombing their homeland. They're involved.
Well,
because
kind
their
of
family is
like
hungry.
what happens later with Wanda and Pietro. You actually understand
Yeah.
why they joined, they're radicalized.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But that kind of backstory could only be afforded to white people, because this is
Clearly.
Marvel. But I think what kind of bothered me about that too is like, when have you ever heard of a terrorist organization in the Middle East capturing an American celebrity?
Yeah.
Like
you just
they
have to
capture
suspend
women
your
and children.
disbelief so much in the beginning of the movie. Like the later in the movie, not so much, but at the beginning, you just have to completely suspend all of your disbelief.
Mhm.
Of,
I mean, it
how
makes sense
logical.
because they
There's no logic.
wanted him to build that specific weapon. So they're sitting there going, you have the knowledge, we're going to force you to do that. But it was just one of those things that like,
Mhm.
and I understand that because it was focused
No.
on Tony because he's the hero, but I just,
I
if
know.
I had been
Not
telling that
really.
story, I would have had some nuance
it
in
is
there.
very funky.
Like maybe the person has a personal grudge against Tony Stark, not just like we want you to make more
Yeah.
weapons.
Right.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Because they
I
could have
would've
just
been like-
kidnapped an engineer.
I would have been like, these
Exactly.
are a whole bunch of people who are desperate, being controlled by this one person who has managed to gain power because that's
Yeah.
the situation that's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead of all of them being evil. Like-
Mhm. Mhm.
If they're not on our side, they're evil. And we're not gonna complicate that plot at all until Thor.
Christine, we're gonna fight
Well,
on that one.
not back then, because if you think about it, 2008 that's when it came out. That's when the Iraq War was starting to lose popularity among Americans.
Yeah,
So
as
that's
it should have.
right. Well, yeah, absolutely. But
You're
that
all laughing at you over here. That's dumb.
Up here. You're
Oh my
Christine,
gosh.
no offense, but
Jessica's
Canada isn't that
comment.
much better.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Oh, I know. We were in Afghanistan. We just weren't in Iraq. And we're like, at least we didn't go to Iraq. And I'm like, then can we come out of Afghanistan maybe? Like, maybe.
But
Jessica's
that
comment about the graphic.
of that beginning was literally just.
We literally were talking about that.
Thank you.
Look, guys,
You're not
literally
wrong.
talking about that in our chat. And
Like,
That was
Brianna was like,
Brianna.
I didn't. It was stock footage. Or-
Daddy, tell me about your spay neuter advocacy.
My exact quote was, "I'm very uncomfortable with how sexy Vanko looks in that photo."
With me, Mr. Whiplash.
Like, dude has greasy hair. He doesn't clean his nails. Like, I know he's gross and greasy. And I'm just sitting there going, but he's hot here. What's this? This is. Why are you doing this to me?
Listen, we all found Bucky hot when he was literally murdering civilians and like wearing like weird eye paint and like jumping around. Like, so, you know, there's no telling what.
Which weird.
I demand we all agree with that statement.
I agree.
Oh, Christine.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank
I
you,
will
Michelle.
always be on your side when it comes to Bucky.
My only real friend in this group. I'm so sorry.
I need a dog, Bucky. Okay.
Okay, Brianna too.
I am withholding judgment until I watch that movie again because I have not a lot of memory of that.
So that's not going to be an honest conversation that we have about that film.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we're not going to ride up in here and shit all over Thor for Michelle, right? Like we're going to watch that movie and be like, Sebastian Stan deserved an Oscar.
Well, yes, obviously Sebastian
For his
Stan
3
deserved an
lines.
Oscar. I
Yes,
don't know
I
that
agree.
long hair. I am not a long hair guy girl. Personally, I love him with the shorter hair, but
You just said that graphic was attractive.
Case in point.
Can I make a quick announcement?
I'm no longer your friend.
Yeah.
No. I have a fatality to report.
What
Yes,
happened?
Oh my god!
So there are 3 dogs living in my house right now.
This literally sounds.
It's definitely not Max because he's 8.
It's 100% Cassie.
Yeah, it's definitely Cassie. It was definitely Cassie.
100% Cassie.
But Cassie's my favorite dog today, so I don't want to like blame her, but like it
Well,
was
all you
her.
have to do is get like something for it to stand on, and then hot glue it, and there you go.
We could put her like in the water, like a wave. Like, wow, she's swimming.
Royal Destroyed by Entire Folk of the Air signed the series, so and I supported them, so
So the best dogs destroy things that are precious. Okay, cool.
What I want
Anyways.
to know is why your Folk of the Air series was where Doyle could get a hold of it.
it wasn't. It was
A
on
moment of
a
peace.
bookshelf in the living room, and that's when he learned he knew how to jump in.
Oof.
Sad days.
Oh, can we also appreciate Pepper Potts for being Pepper Potts?
Yes,
queen.
obviously, always.
Gwyneth Paltrow,
Specifically,
bottom tier.
like her first line is like, "I'm here to take out the trash."
I know.
So
and it was
good.
So,
okay, can we
iconic.
appreciate how the way she delivered it wasn't that she was talking about that girl that she waited until that girl came at her, like she wasn't throwing any
Right.
judgment, and then that girl was like, oh, blah blah blah, and she's like, oh, okay, I can bring
Right.
it too. Like I
Right,
really
she was
appreciate
like
that
defending herself.
little bit of nuance,
Also CEO.
Yes.
CEO.
as she deserves to be.
And she deserves.
100%.
Although
Like,
that was
how there wasn't any like jealousy. How like I love how she wasn't jealous. She went up to Tony and she was like, you know, about Natalie or whatever. She was like, "That's a sexual assault
I know.
waiting to happen."
she was more about protecting Nat than she was about being jealous, which is funny. Which I mean,
But
like, they
also,
weren't
you
really...
know that scene would not be in a movie coming out this year.
Right.
When I watched that, and I was like, "Holy shit!"
Like, oh,
You're going to have to be more specific about which scene in that movie
That
you are referring
whole-
to.
But the whole like that's a sexual assault case waiting to happen when he's like, yeah, like come into the ring, take off your shoes. Whoa. Like that would not be it. That would not happen.
I can see parts of that happening just because they wanted to show off Nat, but there are certain lines where I'm sitting there going, all this sexual attention.
But
I get it.
She played that so well.
Yeah.
She was just like, oh, okay. Wham.
I know. The law of the universe is that every single person is attracted to Natasha Romanoff. That's the law.
Oh my gosh, yeah. As that one the sequence, I can't even talk. That's just what she does to me. I'm just like, man, I am so gay right now.
Right? You're like, oh, yeah.
The hair, I couldn't get past that hair. I was like, no self-respecting spy would have their hair like that. There's no way you can and it's especially egregious in this one. I know Nat's hair is longer and she leaves it loose in other movies, but it was especially egregious in this one because there was all that taking time to do the hair flip and all of that. And I'm just sitting there going, if she was a spy, that shit would be in a bun right now or a braid. Something that's not going to get her way.
In Endgame best. I love her braid in Endgame. Yeah. But I think that that is one of the problems I have with Iron Man 2. One of there's so many. But in Iron Man 2 was how, when I think of the later movies, especially Winter Soldier, actually, with Nat and how flushed out her character is, how funny she is, how much sass there is. And then in this one, she's like, yes, I'm here. I'm a spy and I have boobs.
She's hypersexualized.
But I don't know if this is because I'm now rewatching them all. But I don't see that as her trying to be her being black. I see it as her trying to just be undercover and play to the lowest common denominator that is Tony Stark.
I was thinking it was the direction more than
it's a character thing. It's maybe it wasn't her decision to do that, but it was obviously Romanoff's decision to do that.
So I think it's she didn't have that little smile that she has in the later ones where she's
I saw it all as fake. And I don't know if it's because I know where her character goes.
Yeah.
Or in now we're going back and we're basically like when you reread a book and you're like, oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah, that's true.
I kind of see it. Oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I kind of see it as Scarlett Johansson doing the best with a character who was written in a slightly problematic way. There are definitely things I'm direction and writing failed this character here, but Scarlett Johansson made it work.
Oh, because she's definitely one of the strongest actors that Marvel has cast.
That she's such a trash person.
Of all the books or of all the movies, this one is the blatantly obvious that it was written and directed by a white man.
Yes.
Yeah. Both of these ones. The two Iron Mans
also that it was set up for the rest of whatever's going on. So obvious for setting up for other movies. Iron Man wasn't quite so obvious about it, but this one is just oh yeah, you're referring to that, knowing where
it does really suffer from middle book syndrome.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like Coulson.
They were more ham-fisted about it, I guess is more my thing. I feel like they're more subtle about those things later. But a lot of it was just this is so obviously we are setting up to do this thing and get everything together.
Nick Fury. Wow.
Okay. So the fact that he comes in at the end and has all of this explanation, I'm just oh, this is just bad writing.
Yeah. True. The whole movie was exposition dump though. Be ooh, Tony, create a new atom and we're going to explain that science to you. Later, do you think they explain the science of Ultron? No, they're we did some shit in the lab and look, we got a death robot.
Yeah.
I was oh my God, don't talk to me about atoms. Atoms or elements. What is it?
It was an element.
I'm not a scientist.
What I want to know is how do you create a new element?
You can't.
I was going to say.
You also can't create Ultron overnight, but Marvel science is fine until they try to explain it.
It's comic book science, and you really shouldn't do that unless you...
We're this is a new element.
Yeah. They just could have been like, he worked in the lab really hard and suddenly he found a way.
But also,
Or
isn't
done like a weird cheese montage.
vibranium technically a new element too, though?
Vibranium always existed.
Yeah.
In the Marvel universe, it's not an actual.
No, yeah.
So that,
Yes.
that's
I don't know if you're just being silly or not.
explain
Because when
this is vibranium.
Tumble said that he had to go,
They could have just made up a whole new thing and then pretended it was like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because
And that's
originally
what the comics do well.
Vibranium was originally adamantium, right?
Yes.
'Cause
Adamantium.
I remember that Cap's shield and Logan's claws were supposed to be made out of the
Same thing. Yeah, but then they couldn't use adamantium because they'd used it
X-Men.
in X-Men. Correct. Yeah.
Okay, they couldn't use it because there was a copyright
Yeah.
thing.
But now,
Well, we're still going to be doing vibranium, I assume.
yeah. Also, vibranium just sounds cooler. I'm going to be completely honest.
Oh,
Do not diss adamantium, my friend.
I'm
makes
putting
your
my phone
bones
on vibranium.
Now you just made it sound dirty.
This is my vibranium.
Okay. Is there anything else we wanted to talk about for the movies?
I wanted to kind of RIP for Coulson and Pepper putting him in the friend zone. Moment of silence.
Okay, he ended up with May, and we love May.
Yes.
I just noticed that, because I remember some parts from the Iron Man 3, and I just remember Coulson, and he's like this, and Pepper's like this, and he's like walking next to her, and I'm just like, he has a crush on her. It's really
He's
sad.
a short king. He is a short king.
Coulson is a special child.
I never got, I think because he was so embarrassing in his like first scene in Avengers with Steve, that it was like too like, oh my god, dude, if you want to fucking play it, chill. Like it didn't, like it was so embarrassing for me, and I get like really bad secondhand embarrassment with stuff like that. Because I'd be like, Captain America, never even heard of him. But like, if I was meeting Steve Rogers, but I don't know. I never got the whole Coulson thing.
Okay, you would do the same thing.
No, I would just like not talk. I'd be like, you know that scene in Community?
You would be so like, you would be an embarrassment.
You know the scene in yeah, I would. But in Community when Donald Glover, Troy, when he meets like his hero, when he meets the Star Trek guy, yeah, I'd be like,
exactly.
That'd be me. I wouldn't be like, sign my baseball card. Like, I would not.
I'm so glad that you just made a Community reference.
Except that most people are like, wow, sign my baseball cards, and super embarrassing.
But he was at work. It wasn't like a fan convention. He was like, they're like, hey, Cap, I know we just woke you up after years of being a popsicle. Can you sign my cards? I know everyone you love is dead. Can you sign my cards? And I think after that, I was like,
Cap can't wait for like
take a lorazepam and calm down. Like, a lorazepam, a cocktail, and let Steve have some space.
Oh my goodness.
Like, again, we would all probably do the same thing.
Yeah.
I think you.
Okay, I was definitely much cooler when I went to Victoria Schwab to ask her to sign my books. I told her something that she had done for me that made me happy versus being like, please do all of this for me. I just like, thank you so much for writing this character.
I just can't talk to people who are that hot. Can't do it.
Oh my god. So that just confirms everything about how I feel about my appearance. Because you can't talk to me.
Literally goes, like, my stuttering goes from 0 to 7,000. So I'm talking, but then I start doing that, and I'm like, hi.
Yeah, hi. This is literally what I would do.
I would be like, did you know that I have my master's in history? And
well,
also
yeah,
that I'm really educated. Are you even smart? I'm smart. I'm smart, and I am really drunk right now. So like, that'd be me. That would be my coping mechanism.
I also want to appreciate Sam Rockwell for being a villain in almost everything that he's in.
Who's Sam Rockwell?
I don't even know who that is.
He plays Justin. What's his face?
Oh, Justin Hammer.
Yeah. All I think of is baking soda.
He has villain face, so of course he's gonna be a villain.
It was also just kind of like, okay, Obadiah Jr., like, I get it. A greedy businessman has, like, name the plot of Iron Man 1, 2, and 3. A greedy businessman is unhappy that Tony is more successful than him and comes in to steal his technology to use it for evil because Tony has morals and he uses it for good.
Justin Hammer was literally a pick-me boy.
Okay, is it that he's... I just feel like it comes down to these super impressive CEOs are intimidated by Tony. I feel like their dick is smaller than his, so they have to prove that their dick is bigger.
The plot of all 3 movies. And it was cool the first time because it was like his shadow self because it was his business partner.
Yeah.
Not some random guy.
But I appreciate that he was not the main villain. Like, yes, but he wasn't like the big guy.
That movie would have been a disaster without Whiplash.
Yeah.
That scene with the electric whip, that was the only good scene other than Black Widow's.
I don't know. I think my favorite scene is really just the part where they run into him with the car, where Happy just keeps running into him with the car.
How was he still walking?
The best thing.
Were his hips not crushed?
They made it vibrate.
Like,
also, I have
to
to laugh when Pepper threw the suitcase and he stepped into it. All I was imagining was like the Power Rangers theme music, and I'm like, so you mean to tell me that this guy with an electric whip was just standing there waiting for Tony to put the suit on and wasn't at all like, maybe I should hit him while he's vulnerable.
Can we
that's the newest dog training tool.
What?
Can we talk about the difference in technology from like that Iron Man suit to the I was like, wow, it takes you like 20 seconds to get into the suit.
I do see that there's another place where Marvel science works really well. Tony's suits keep getting more and more technologically advanced, and he's just like, nanotechnology, and walks away. I'm like, perfect. That's all I needed.
What was it? So they were talking about like science fiction. One of the best ways, because so much of like specifically talking about The Expanse, but they're talking about how a lot of their technology that they use, they explain the little stuff really well, so that when they're like, yeah, this fusion drive, they don't have to explain technology that does not exist yet. But because they've explained the little bits, people believe they know what they're talking about with the other bits. And that's what you really need to do with science in general when you're writing.
It's just, but like also I think it's boring if you're not, like, maybe if you can sit there and be like, well, that's where that's like right and that's where that's wrong, and like dissect it. That's cool. Mm-hmm. But can you imagine if you went to a historical fiction movie or book and you only got historical nonfiction or fake historical nonfiction? It'd be like, this is boring, right? So for me, if I'm reading or watching a science fiction book, I don't want so much time dedicated to fake science.
Yes.
Yeah.
Give me fake characters and fake plot, please.
Yes.
No, it's real plot. Plot is made up by definition and therefore cannot be fake.
There you go. Give me real plot and fake characters.
Yeah.
I'm good with a little bit of fake science, and it can't be like inundated with it.
Yeah. But like literally him just being like nanotechnology, enough for me.
And that's good.
Yeah. Being like, this machine I made.
You know what you're doing.
Because a lot of times if you try to explain it, and then somebody who is like in a STEM field or whatever, they're going to be like, yeah, no, there's no way that would work.
Yeah.
It completely ruins the book or the movie for them.
Yeah. And then it takes the person who's trying to watch it out of it.
Yeah.
Whereas if nanotechnology, okay.
You're like, okay, I can run with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, I know Jarvis would never be a real AI. I know the steps between Siri and Jarvis are insane and we'll never get there in my lifetime, maybe. Maybe. But I love Jarvis.
Yeah.
Right. It's true.
And when, like, we buy that progression.
Yeah. Because nobody had to explain it to us. It was just, here's Jarvis. He's an AI that's impossible.
Right.
Yeah. So speaking of VR, do we want to start talking about the book? Do we have any more thoughts about the movie before we start talking about Slay?
Black Widow.
Yes.
You've already said that, Christine, like 4 times.
See, if this is how we're dealing with Black Widow, then I just I don't know how we're gonna get through a live show talking about Bucky.
Oh, we're not.
When we get to
Don't invite me.
The Winter Soldier. The live stream for Winter Soldier will never end. It will just
We'll
be.
just mute Christine when we need to.
Did you guys see at the 1 hour and 17-minute mark when he
I mean, we've already done one live show where Bucky was involved because we did get through Captain America.
It's true. I remember his chest hair in that movie.
He doesn't have a shirt in that movie?
There's a scene where he's wearing a very low-cut shirt, and there's like his chest hairs coming out of it, and then in Winter Soldier, he's like waxed, and you're like, Hydra waxed the Winter Soldier. Like, why did he need to be waxed?
We're not.
I wonder if that was around or after the time he'd done that one Broadway show where he had to be all like smooth and oiled for that show.
Maybe, but he's like, there's that scene where he's getting tortured, right? And his chest is like gleaming, like they oiled him up, they waxed him, and I'm like, bro, he's being tortured. Stop making this so hot. Like, stop. You're so weird. Because in the first movie, he's like, looks like a person in 1943 would look, right? And then this one, it's like, why is Hydra like hiring a team of estheticians for their prisoner? Like, anyway, that's just what Hydra does.
Standards.
Okay.
They care about the look, you know? They're
Okay.
Are you okay, Christine?
Good.
Good.
I think Christine is fine. It's the rest of us I'm worried about.
I'm great.
Okay, there. Okay,
Who's
bud.
lying?
Okay, so we're good. We're good to talk about the book now.
Yes, let's.
I love this book. Oh, let me grab my coffee.
Non-spoiler.
Yes. Is there anything that we need to announce before we get into talking about the book? Anything that we want to discuss? Can't remember.
Well, I think the announcements are going to come at the end.
Okay. All right. Fine.
I think that's what we're going to do, our Mad Libs winners. And
Okay. I wasn't sure when we were doing that.
Well, later,
Okay.
because we haven't done it yet.
So if you haven't read the book, sucks to be you.
If you haven't read the book, what the
What's wrong with you?
If you
My
haven't
I
read
read
it,
it.
just go read
I
it.
read it last night.
Hi.
Just go
I
get it.
tried to read it
Go read it
last
right now.
night.
Like
But-
I started it
Go get
at
a
like
library.
4,
Do it.
and I was making chicken, and then I finished at like 10.
You hustled.
Yeah.
You hustled,
did.
Michelle.
It's
Margaret,
not a
on
hard
the other
book to
hand,
read.
Let's
Shut up,
Says the
Christine.
person who didn't finish it.
I read most of this book this morning. So,
I had
like,
impending doom stress.
This morning,
yeah, like I
I
got through 150
stood in
pages.
the rain for 4 hours, so
That doesn't sound
That sounds like a you problem.
it was good. There were so many dogs.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not surprised that you read it so quickly, Michelle. It's easy
like,
to read.
like the first chapter, I think, is like 40 pages.
The first chapter's really long.
I
It
was-
is?
I was taking notes.
And then after that, it like after you hit probably the 50% mark, it goes so fast.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
And I
I
think
actually didn't notice how long the first chapter was, partly because it took me like 3 days to read it.
well, so I switch back between books, right? I'll read a chapter of this book, a chapter of that book. So I was like,
Yeah.
holy shit, why isn't this ending?
Yeah.
But
There is a lot to set up.
Oh.
Yeah, and I feel like part of why it's so well paced is because of the fact that she has 2 different main things that we're kind of bouncing back and forth between, like her personal life and her gaming, like the issues that are surrounding like the whole thing that happened with the
Mhm.
game
yeah.
and like, her
That's in the blurb. We can talk about the fact that there was a murder because of her game. It's in the blurb.
the murder and the game and all of that, you know, like the 2, and so we're like bouncing also back and forth between like scenes within the game and, you know, people, her and also other people. That's something I didn't expect was multiple perspectives. When it came up, I was like, oh, huh. And then we like got several perspectives, and I really enjoyed that because it really helped to kind of round out the story a lot.
It tied in what
You okay, boss?
meant on the page.
This Slay world is all about community. I think
So
Yeah.
that have like you only see them once, but it really shows the real life part of this virtual community.
Right.
And I think that so much of what I loved about it would have been lost without Claire.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Claire and Steph are my favorite characters for sure. Like, I love Kira. I love her. Mwah. But like Steph and Claire,
I can see you getting along with Steph,
I think
especially.
it's because I think it's just the fact that Claire is like an adult, and so
true.
a lot of the struggles and the things that she goes through, we're like, oh, we've been there.
Yeah.
Versus like when you're 17 and you're hiding the fact that you're a game developer from your family.
Yeah, and
I have so many things to talk about that.
Kira had to realize that she had this amazing community around her, not just in the game, but in real life.
Yeah.
And Claire literally had no one.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, literally no one but Steph, or not Steph, Kira. And it was like, Claire, I'm going to fly to France. I'm going to make you a cup of tea. I'm going to take you to Germany or something because I don't really want to be in France. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and I appreciate that we got to see so many different versions of the Black experience, because so often I feel like we only get like one or two, versions of a minority experience in a book. And instead of really observing the fact that every individual's experience is different in a minority, just because you're a part of the same community doesn't mean that your experience is the same.
Exactly.
And I like that it
so important, and this addressed it, I think, so well. And I think that's like one of the main themes really within it, is just that every Black experience is different, and that's so incredibly important to acknowledge that we can have a minority that is united through similarities, but your individual lives are still very different, and what you go through every day is so very different, and
and how you think the problems
learn about each other
should be solved is different.
have so much to understand, and you still have to take a step back and recognize your own privilege within your community, and because there are some that are more privileged than others even within a minority community.
I also liked how it focused on the diaspora outside of countries we typically expect to see the African diaspora. So, like, obviously a lot of this was centered in the United States because the author's American, but, like, the fact that we get Claire in France and Maurice in China, and, like, the mention of her dad being Afro-Portuguese, like, I think it's important to recognize that, like, the Black diaspora isn't just the American South or Chicago or New York and the Caribbean. It's literally the entire world.
Absolutely.
Well, and even within the United States, like Kira is in Washington, which is not a norm, like not one of the places where you would
where it would usually be portrayed. Yeah,
because slavery was everywhere. It wasn't just in the South. So a lot of times we focus on African Americans are in the South where they were enslaved, and that's where racism is. But it's not limited to one area. Racism is something that is
even in Canada, like, such a significant part of our population are Black Canadians, and we just we write these issues off as American issues. But like these issues affect Canada not as deeply because it's a much larger percentage of your population, but it's still just as important for the people who are here.
Yeah. I mean, in regards to people being in Washington, it's actually a lot of that was Black people after the Emancipation Proclamation going to the West. And if you look into the history of how they were treated there, there were entire places like Oregon. There was a point where their constitution said no Black people were allowed to live in the state. I'm pretty sure it was either the state or a specific city. So it's so complicated.
Until the 60s, Canada had a rule against Black immigrants because they wouldn't survive the cold winters.
Wow.
Yeah, no, and that's Canada, right? That's not something you talk about, but yeah, literally, if we're talking about space and space as a way to perpetuate racism, Canada perpetuated that racism for literally 100 years by just being they just wouldn't survive here because they can't be in the cold, so
they are human beings.
So we're gonna only bring over Germans and Norwegians and Oh my God, they happen to all be white. Isn't that crazy?
Weird how that works.
Whoa, like literally
weird.
space racism, like Canada's a perfect example, our immigration policy through our history.
Yikes.
One thing that I wanted to bring, and I wish we could sit down and talk with Brittany Morris about this, because there are a lot of what are called explanatory commas in this book, where she'll sit down and she'll explain an element of Black culture. And so it was interesting. It brought up the question for me, like, whose gaze is she writing this for? Is she writing this for a Black audience, but also making sure that no matter your gender or no matter your age or where you're from, you're going to understand it? Or is this an example of the publishing house being like, hey, we need to also keep in mind the white readers who will be reading this book? That was something, because I think Brittany Morris is one of the ones that talks about that a lot. But that was just something that, like, I wish I could get an answer to that question. And it was interesting.
Like it was like with the intention of everyone.
Yeah.
I think she was like, really, everyone needs to be able to read this book, because I think this is, this is just my story. This is what I want to share with the world, like this is, because I feel like, her heart was definitely in what she wrote here.
Yes, definitely.
Because of how much, thematic, elements, character development elements were in it. I just feel like it was very much like of her heart, and she wanted to be accessible. So I would definitely say that it's like a mixture.
Yeah.
I also thought that it was kind of developed for girls like Claire or like Kira, who felt very physically isolated from their community. Like, this is a book that let's say you're living in Washington with no other Black people around you. You're living in somewhere in Canada, like living in Europe, and like you're one of the only Black people in your community, and you can pick up a book like this and like feel connected to your culture, and like have Kira say to Claire, yes, you are Black enough. I would never say that you're not, or something like that. I think the relationship between the Black women in this book being so strong, and that, like, yes, you're part of our culture because of your history. You don't have to like perform anything. This is who you are in your bones. I think that was speaking to like young Black children as well, who might be isolated.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and again, that's so true with so many minorities, that you have to be enough for, to be able to identify. And I think that, that's such an important thing that she put in the book, was that you are enough just because you are, just because you exist, just because you breathe. You are enough. And I think that that was so powerful. And the way that she wrote it, like where the conversation came up, but then she re-entered that same conversation later on and brought it back, so that it, like, that thought was in the back of her mind, in the back of Kira's mind, that she realized, this is something that my friend is concerned about, and she doesn't even know how I really feel about it, because it's something that I haven't talked about.
Yeah.
Like, when she realized that, I think that that's a really important way that she went about it, because it was like very relevant to how I feel like a lot of people feel in minorities that don't feel like they, can claim or identify just because they're not enough or they feel like they're experiencing gatekeeping. And I just feel like that the way that she approached that, of like, first Kiri recognizing the fact that it was something she had never even considered being an issue for anybody within the community that she created. And like that realization coming first, and then the conversation after the fact, after that idea marinated in her head a little bit. I really liked the fact that that was like,
I like that they talked about some of those identity politics.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes to like how, as a creator or someone who's creating like spaces or groups or whatever, that you have to constantly do work to be mindful of intersections. Because like for Kira being like, well, I just want a safe space for Black people. Well, okay, but how do we make that safe space for all Black people, including biracial Black people, trans Black people,
including
children,
disabled Black people? That was one of the things that came up there. The fact that she was like, I don't use a mic. And I'm sitting there going, well, if they're having to read, is that accessible to someone who may be visually impaired? Like, that was one of the things that kind of stood out to me. And that was something that I was like, this is because it's a recent conversation that's been happening in app development that I've been seeing a little bit about. So it's just interesting to kind of sit there and go, okay, that's interesting. Like, I wonder if she thought about that, if the author thought about that.
Well, we've had to think about that hosting this too, right? Like, how do we keep this a safe space for people as like women who don't obviously have experiences with every single intersection.
Right.
Like, we're not going to ever cover it all.
Especially, that, and especially because we're talking comics and we're women leading a discussion about comics, and that can open you up for trolls if you're not careful.
Yeah.
Those Marvel bros.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I refuse to go to my comic book store while wearing a comic book shirt. Just refuse, flat out refuse. I'm like, I don't know. I've never had a bad experience there, but I've heard about enough and I already feel kind of out of place enough there. And it's not the staff or anything. It's the other customers I'm worried about more.
It sucks.
It's just like,
that.
Nope.
One of my most disliked videos I had on my channel was my Avengers Endgame trailer reaction.
Yeah.
Where I just was happy and excited.
It's going to be fun when I start getting into more like comic book content.
For being excited, Christine.
How dare I watch a trailer about a man's space? Like, this is a man thing. You wouldn't. Do you like Marvel? Have you sucked Robert Downey Jr.'s dick? No, then don't even apply.
Did you ever see the story about one of the, like, a guy in the line for Deadpool turning around to explain Deadpool to Gail Simone?
Right.
like I mean, like, he was trying to grill her or something. I don't remember the exact, but it was like basically kind of like along the lines of him like trying to prove whether or not she was a real fan. And I'm just like,
see, and that ties into a lot of that ties into like sexism in, especially in STEM.
Yeah.
Well,
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Where you just see this divide by not only racially but also by gender.
Yeah.
Like how everyone thought that Emerald would be a man, even though literally
and they kept calling him a he or a he, and it's like, Emerald. Have you ever met a cis male who called himself Emerald?
And dresses in like a gown, like an African queen. Like, wouldn't it be safe to assume that person wants you to? But like, wouldn't it be like if I'm online playing a game and someone's named Emerald and they're dressed very feminine? Unless I ask them otherwise, or I'm going to assume that they are presenting female for a reason.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
like,
speaking of, wasn't it great how often they was used in this book, where if Kiera didn't know the person's gender, she just automatically referred to them as they. I want to get to that point.
Yeah.
But it's interesting along that line, like, how would this book have been as powerful if Kira would have been a 17-year-old boy?
No.
I think so much of it was the sisterhood relationship between her, Steph, and Claire.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you flip the genders, would it have been as powerful?
I think it could have been. I think it could have been because, like, I think the idea of, like, Pan-Africanism and stuff visited in this was really powerful for me. But so much of it just relied on her being like, oh, like, this man is trying to decide how my life should go. And
it would have to be a different part of powerful because, you know, this is, on one hand, is a book about a Black girl, but it's also, on the other hand, a book about a girl who is a gamer.
Right.
So that experience lends to the particular kind of power that this book has.
I mean, I feel like it would have to, you know, in some capacity be, you know, maybe if it was a male, then still a part of LGBTQ or something
like that.
Yeah,
some other minority element, because it was in part because of the intersectional minority situation where she was a woman and Black. So if there was some other element there that was intersectional, I feel like it would have been able to maintain the strength that it had.
Yeah.
But I feel like if it didn't have two if it didn't have an intersection, I don't think it would have, so if there was some
I think it's kind of the same, like, we chose this book because of how well it fit Shuri. I think it's kind of the same thing if Shuri was a little brother instead of a little sister, like, would she have felt so powerful to watch?
Yeah.
I don't think so, because I remember watching that being like, this is the best representation of a smart woman I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Hermione Granger can go suck a dick. Like, this is so much cooler. but like,
I mean, Hermione Granger
Yeah.
might enjoy that, so I don't know.
you're right. Never mind.
Some women enjoy that. Anyway, Liz has a good point that a lot of the people talking about Emerald had never been in the game. My thing is, I look at Emerald, that is either a woman or a drag queen in my mind. That's not going to be a he in my
But still,
mind.
there was never a they. There was never he or she.
Yeah,
It was always he.
It's the
Like it had to be a
news
man.
media, Christine.
Yeah.
Do you expect them to use they?
Right.
No, I'm not. Of course not. But like, no.
But
Okay, it's always he or
she.
she. And I hate that. It should just be they. But it's always. I don't know about the States, but in Canada, it's always he or she, and I'm like, there's a word for that.
It also takes less time to say.
And it sounds so much more less awkward, like his or hers.
Yes.
Th-
They.
Theirs. Sound it out. Good job.
All right, so we've brought up misogyny a couple of times, and that's going to kind of get
Margaret's
us into
don't open the can of
spoilers.
worms.
No.
Margaret's like, this can of worms?
Are we not? Do we not want to open this can of worms? Because I can pivot. I'm just saying that we're kind of getting towards some spoilery
It's up to Michelle.
territory.
It's up to Michelle.
So maybe we need to let the people know that there will be spoilers.
Leave. No, I'm kidding.
Just keep that in mind, because we've flirted with that edge a couple of times here.
Okay. So
I'm just glad I get to participate this time because I read it.
Yes.
So if you have not read it and you would like to leave, thank you all for watching.
And I will say that if you have not read it, there's kind of a big twist. So like you need to leave.
Do our announcements, Mad Libs before then. Before we do spoilers.
You know what? Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Which do we want to do first?
So I have an order for them.
Okay. I was actually saying, do we want announcements first or Mad Libs first?
Let's do announcements first.
Yeah, announcements is good.
Do we
Susan,
remind
don't
everyone that
mess
this is
up.
March's book?
Yes. Do that.
That's March's book.
Who wants to know what April, May, and June's book are?
Oh, me, please.
All right, so April, we are reading The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow.
Not that that's like a clue to who you might be seeing, but like don't read too much into that at all.
Christine, stop it! Don't make them think too
They're
hard.
not stupid. They're doing it like a freaking year-long readathon.
Nothing to do with who's coming in.
Yeah, don't pay attention to the word witch.
By the way, you guys are getting like a sneak peek. We haven't even announced this on the Instagram. That happens tomorrow. But Rise of the Red Hand by Olivia Shada or Hada, I'm not entirely sure. I should look that up. Is going to be May's book. And then June's book is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Motar and Max Gladstone.
I'm so excited.
I'm
I
so
don't-
hyped. I haven't even heard of the middle one, but the
I'm
first
surprised.
two are already
You're
on
the
my
first person
TBR.
to talk about it to me.
I think I'm most excited for Once and Future Witches, if I'm being real.
Yeah,
I need to get on
probably same.
No, Rise of the Red
Okay.
Hand, I think, showed up as like a recommended thing on Goodreads. It was like, you've read some of these other sci-fi books, maybe this one. And it's I think it was a 2020 release.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we started reading the synopsis, and we're like, this could work.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's indie too, which is cool because we haven't done any indie books, so
Oh,
that'll be
nice.
nice to have that in there as well.
So if you're gonna buy one of them,
It's so indie. It's printed upside down in
oh my
green
god,
copy.
not even kidding.
yeah, you have to
Okay.
share that.
Okay, so here's the book, right? Here's the spine. So it's the right direction.
Yeah.
See, they're the same way, right?
Oh, right.
Okay. Then you go to open said book. Okay, everything's fine. Oh wait, hang on. What's happening here? What is happening here? It's
The horror.
Pages are upside down.
That was actually the funniest video I've ever watched on a Twitter group chat.
Wait, that's right side up. Oh no, you've changed the book.
I flipped
so
it.
it's
I
right side
flipped
up.
it.
Okay, I'm like, wait, that's right side up. Bria.
So like now the spine is upside down.
Now
I would be complaining. I would complain.
It's a complete
And then
book
there's like
otherwise?
a weird printing thing that happened on the edges. That's why I started looking at the book to begin with, is because I was like putting it on my shelf and I saw this ink there and I was like, I wonder if there's like images or something happening. And I go to flip through it and I'm like, wait. Wait.
That's funny. Anyways, we're giving you a sneak peek because we are trying to minimize the number of people that end up reading it like the month before. That is the book. So Francesca, if you follow our Instagram, and then also we'll be posting the link in the Discord. But one more time, it is The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. The Rise of the Red Hand by Olivia. I don't know how to say her last name, but it's Chadha. And then This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Motar and Max Gladstone.
I would have dropped those all by now. You're a true queen.
Yeah, same.
I am typing them out in the comments real quick.
Okay, perfect. Yes. All right. Let her do that, and then we'll do Mad Libs. We are in the wrong order for these Mad Libs.
Wait, do we have any other announcements? Was there something else?
Did we have any other announcements?
Nope.
I don't remember anything.
Okay.
But I wouldn't rely on
well, I guess are we watching a movie next week? Should we say that now too?
We are watching a movie next week.
Is it Thor or is it Hulk?
It is.
I think it's Hulk.
Okay.
Yay!
Which is like Edward Norton's Hulk.
Mark Ruffalo underwent a face job or something. It wasn't. It's the same guy. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's the one with Liv Tyler.
Howard.
I'm assuming it's the one. It is the one with Liv Tyler in it, right?
Yeah, but Liv Tyler was in two of them. She was in both of those.
Okay. Ta-da!
What?
Comment.
Liv Tyler's hot, man.
There's a really old one where like he was painted.
The items will be posted. When we
We did announce
Instagram and Twitter.
February. We did announce February's at the live show.
We did. We should do it this time.
This one is
It's the Tesseract, right?
No,
yeah, that's it. It's the Tesseract.
It's the Tesseract.
You're right.
So
you're right.
don't call it the Cosmic Cube. There's probably like don't call it that. I don't know if you were gonna call it the Cosmic Cube, but Disney certainly wasn't. So call it the Tesseract.
It is the Tesseract.
Yeah. In case you were like, hey, the Cosmic Cube is its real name? No, it's not.
Where are you getting that phrase from, Christine?
It's called that in the comics.
Oh, okay.
You know, comics, they don't always hit the naming things.
Okay, but there's this scene in the comics where it's in Winter Soldier, and in Captain America Winter Soldier, the comic by Steve Epting and Ed Brubaker, where Cap goes up to Bucky with the Cosmic Cube, and he's like, remember who you are, and it's very Mufasa-y. And then Bucky's like, no, that's what and remembers, and he takes the Cosmic Cube and teleports away in shame and goes back to the camp where they were like trained together and cries alone in the dirt.
That teleporting away in shame, Christine, is probably the most relatable thing Bucky Barnes has ever done.
I know it's such a moment where he's just like, no, and like teleports and just sits in the dirt and cries. Yeah. Presumably for however many months until you see him again. He's just sitting there.
Poor baby.
Yeah, that's something I would do.
Me too. I'd pull a full Bucky every day if I could. I would just say, bye, I'm gonna go cry now.
Yep. All right.
So Mad Libs.
Okay.
So
what is the order?
everybody submitted Mad Libs, which was great, and they're hilarious.
They're really good. So I wrote them and I made a specific order. So we'll do that. And I paired them with either people said they had a preference, or I just like paired them with whoever didn't respond.
I did not respond, but you still paired me with my preference. So.
I knew it though. I knew. We went through yesterday. Yesterday I went through all your answers. So let me just clarify: hundreds of Mad Libs. Could probably recite them in my sleep. And there's lots of chair. So many people said chair. Just easiest now, chair. And I whittled it down to like a
They
short
were
list.
probably sitting when they were doing it. So
You
they were like,
probably-
ooh,
probably.
I'm sitting in here's
Yeah,
a chair.
The
'Cause, like,
2008
when you're-
Hulk, Carrie. The
Yeah,
2008
when you're filling out a Mad Lib, you like kind of look around you and you're like, So 100%, but they were just sitting there and they were like, ooh,
I try to make it as like inappropriate as possible.
I
And I was really waiting.
like dog or cat if I'm trying to do a noun.
I saw toast
or chair as nouns. That's so weird. They are.
I was
but don't
waiting
think of
for
them that way.
somebody to be like penis, 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 and nobody did. And I was like, what kind of self-control? But anyways, so I whittled it down to a short list, sent the answers off to the people who are reading them, and then they chose. So that's how we chose the winners. Just for clarity, we didn't choose each other or people we know specifically.
I chose the first one that I read the first sentence, and the first sentence was funny or it made sense to me. So
I
Margaret read one, and I read over 200 probably.
Yeah, I've actually read
loud with the winner.
Okay, Danielle, I saw that, and that's one of the ones I submitted for the short list, just to let you know, because I thought it was funny. So we're gonna start with Michelle, because Michelle's is the first one. So go.
Was that the one I picked?
Yes.
Okay. For a second, I was like, oh no. Okay. A brief summary of Iron Man would tell you that this effulgent movie follows Tony Stark, a self-proclaimed obstruction, pustule, and failure who develops weapons for the military. When Tony is kidnapped by fans and discovers his weapons have fallen into the wrong hands, his whole perspective is changed. In order to escape, Tony invents a weaponized organ with which to fight his captors. He vomits and makes it back to the United States of disappointment. Tony's mom and future love interest, Pepper Potts, is very bloody to see Tony save. Tony's experience makes him realize he is responsible for a lot of hemorrhoids all across the world. He perfects his weaponized ears and sets off to do superhero work. When Tony decides not to sell Piccolos anymore, his colleague Obadiah Stane gets very putrescent. God dang, stop. He tries to sell weaponized ears like Tony's, and the two have a very big luck. Tony wins and prances Obadiah Stane. Hooray! Tony is a superhero now, and his name is Cheeky Man. You know, kind of like that song by the famous rock band Saucy St. Euros Day. And then do I reveal who it's from?
Yes.
Okay. This recap was brought to you by R.S. Hook.
Congratulations! Should we tell
the brilliance of United States of
United States of Disappointment and self-proclaimed failure? Self-proclaimed failure.
100% obsessed.
Was my fave.
That was actually like Michelle. When you told me that was the one you picked, I was like, thank God. It was so good. I loved it. It was probably one of my favorite ones I read overall.
It was when I read Disappointment, and I was like, "Yep, that's the one."
That's it. That's the one.
That's the one.
Cheeky Man.
We'll announce the reward after we do all 5.
Okay, cool. So keep tuned in to find out what you've won.
Don't leave.
Yeah. Next up, we have Bree with Introducing the Black Widow.
Okay, it was hard to pick because some of these are really good. So I'm just going to go with the first one that is on this list because all of them were really funny. But here we go. Introducing S.H.I.E.L.D.'s most ceramic spy, Natasha Romanoff, codename Floral Ballpoint Pen. She is known for her trademark expensive suit and blush pink hair. Formerly a silly assassin in the KGB, Romanoff has been trained in many special skills, including espionage, prancing, and frolicking. So watch out, because this spider bites. When we meet Agent Romanoff, she is going undercover at Stark Industries, working as a boss for edible CEO Pepper Potts. Okay, I'm good now. Really,
Tony would agree.
Really, right. Really, she has been placed in the company by director Nick Fury. You know, the guy with the trench coat and the missing earlobe. Tony and Pepper may think that their employee is nothing but a spongy face, but little do they know she is going to be meaningless in the fight against Ivan Vanko. She might just buy Happy Hogan along the way. This report was brought to you by Stephanie Jean.
Congratulations, Stephanie Jean. Meaningless in the fight against Ivan Vanko was the reason that one made it onto my list.
I don't know. I think buying Happy Hogan was pretty good.
She's like, here, Tony, how much do you want for him? I like throwing him across the ring.
I don't think he'd need to buy her. I think she'd just be able to be like, hey, Happy, do you want to come work for me?
Yeah, true.
And he'd be like, uh-huh.
Man, there were some good ones though.
Shout out to Mitchell, who just commented. Mitchell's code name for Black Widow was codename Twisted Tea, and I thought that was really funny.
So good.
Codename.
Some of these codenames were so good. We also had what was it? Oh, hold on.
There was one where it was codename Russian Woman, and I thought that was very accurate.
So good. Here we go. Witty Narwhal.
Yeah, yes, that was really
Brittany's.
Good.
Brittany's was Witty Narwhal.
I actually had a really tough time with Black Widows because I think like okay, so there were like on average like 5 or 6 that I kind of shortlisted and whittled down. I had like 13 for Black Widows, so I think that's the one most people filled out. It was There was some real Natasha love going on here, and most people were like nice, like nobody said anything like mean about her. There was a few that were like repulsive face, like not knowing where it was going, but it was very funny. All right, so next up is Brianna with Rhodey Becomes War Machine.
All right, here we go. I'm probably gonna laugh through this because I do this. James Rhodes, aka Rhodey, is Tony Stark's most likely to win a hot dog eating contest friend and a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Air Force. Their friendship is made smarter by Rhodey donning a modified Iron Man suit and becoming the superhero Clown Puppy. It hasn't been a nervous ride for Rhodey, though. With his job in the with his job in the jump rope, Rhodey often has to choose between his foot with Tony and his career. Rhodey even has to write a report about the potential Pikachu of Iron Man, which causes a tiny rift between him and Tony. Rhodey thinks Tony is good looking, and Tony thinks Rhodey is joyful. To his credit, Rhodey is probably right. At one point, Rhodey even jogs a model of Tony's sandwich, and the two drink at Tony's birthday party. The drama. But when Tony and the world are in danger from the stupid villain Ivan Vanko, aka Whip Ronald McDonald, and graceful businessman Justin Spaghetti, Rhodey and Tony fight together to save the world. Maybe Tony Stark can be part of the polar bear after all. And this report was brought to you by Valerie.
Congratulations, Valerie.
That's good.
Justin Spaghetti. He's coming for you.
Justin Spaghetti won it from.
It was pretty good. All right, so next up is mine, and it is the Stark Expo, the historic Stark Expo, bringing it real deep into Iron Man 2. Okay, welcome to the 2010 Stark Expo, the dazzling reopening. This mind-blowing expo in New York City, which focuses on fireworks and music, was launched by Howard Stark in 1943 and ran until 1974. Such notable guests as Steve Rogers, Captain Stage, have visited this expo, and now you are too. Let's take a look at some of the lethal exhibits we have for you today. On your left, you'll see the display from Stark Industries, which is presenting the newest tech that goes into the creation of the Soldier Man suit. Are you interested in becoming a gun? Try on the helmet for yourself and see if you have what it takes. Next, you can check out the latest research from Accutech. This Stark Industries ammo is developing the cure for robot-threatening disease, and we are so dreadful to help them do it. You can support Accutech by purchasing pants or a man with the slogan, "Fight Woman Today" on it. Lastly, be sure to stop by the booth by our corporate sponsor, Burger King, for some scratched refreshments and nourishment. We hope you had a glittering visit to the 2010 Stark Expo. This tour was brought to you by Cindy Pratt.
I cannot.
That was
purchasing
great.
purchasing pants or a man.
Fight woman today.
Man,
I can't.
you would
I
like
need to purchase
Oh
pants.
I do would like to become a gun.
And that's what Tony does.
I know. And I know it was so, also it was just like, buy a man that says fight woman today. Like,
I love it.
also, like,
love it.
robot threatening disease, serious.
So good. Serious
Serious.
issues.
Why aren't more people talking about it?
That's so
You could
funny.
get yourself killed that way.
Like,
So congratulations, Cindy.
Oh,
And
man.
now it is Margaret's turn for the Mad Libs Margaret has been waiting for, specifically
Yes.
a date with Pepper and Tony.
Yes. Okay. So, in honor of Valentine's Day, let's take a look at a shiny date shared between Tony Stark and Pepper Potts. The cold Iron Man doesn't have a lot of time for romance, but when he does, he goes all out for his llama, Pepper. He starts by picking her up in his Christmassy jet and tweeting her off to a private island in the Gulf of Under a Bridge. At this point, Pepper is already scared that Tony is using company geese for a date. Tony isn't discouraged, though. He has arranged for them to have a dinner on a beautiful mouse overlooking the Swallow. For dessert, Tony has arranged for treacle cake. With some candlelight and Wellington boots, it's sure to be romantic. After dinner, Tony and Pepper take a dip in the happy hot tub. Happy isn't happy? Anyways, the magenta and aquamarine lights really set the mood. Pepper looks fiery in a red right sock. Unfortunately, I do not have the clearance to tell you what happens next, but by all accounts, it was a very spiky night. This report brought to you by Rhea.
Congratulations, Rhea.
That was awesome.
I want some of those socks. I need
Yeah.
some spicy red socks here. Like,
One of my
what?
favorite ones
Yes.
for that too was when the answer was Tony goes all out for his boyfriend Pepper.
I
And
know,
was
I saw
"Aw."
that one. So my only issue, I was trying to find one that was either funny or made sense to me, and I was just like, that was the first one that really like grabbed me. Like shiny date. I was like, ooh, shiny. Sorry, that was a
It was
Firefly
good.
reference there.
geese.
So
So if you were one of the 5 winners, and we'll post them on Discord, Twitter, and our Instagram story as well. I'll get to that. If you're one of those 5 winners, then you can use Slay towards a March board.
One. March board.
one March.
Yeah, one of them. One of
March
the 3.
Moth.
Yeah.
And it's the prompts. For how many?
I'm not saying anything, but Spider-Man's a good choice for that.
It is a good choice for that.
It's
It's
a good
also
choice for that.
it's also a good choice for the Vault-a-thon group book.
Just whatever you want to do. So I'll post those winners on the Discord now.
Nice.
All right. Onwards with spoilers, friends.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. I think
So thanks for joining us. You didn't read the book.
yeah.
You weren't one of the 5 winners who can't get the book towards March if you haven't read it. Maybe finish it today.
Can you imagine if you won just to
That would suck.
read the group books?
Do it.
That's basically
Seriously.
what we're saying. Read group books. It will benefit you in the future.
Mm-hmm.
True. Especially because you can always use them retroactively.
Exactly.
You can always use them retroactively.
Yeah, baby.
All right. So spoiler.
Oh, Solo J.
Spoiler.
Want to open up that can of worms right away, or did we want to do other things?
I don't like that's the only really spoilery thing that I can think of that I need to talk about, but I'm sure there are other things. So
Work on posting this places.
oh, okay. Christine's like, I'm checking out this conversation.
No. I'm going to be here
You can
as
do it
someone to be like,
after the show.
stop criticizing him. All right, go.
Why stop criticizing? I'm just kidding.
Right.
All right. So reading this book, like Malcolm is 10 times worse knowing what happens. I just like it's so interesting to me for him to be and like to be so right in so many ways but also so wrong.
Yeah.
Like he's sitting there and he's talking about decolonizing and breaking free of like white culture and all that, and then he is subjecting Kiera or trying to control Kiera through patriarchy, basically.
Yeah.
Wait, is her name Kira or Kiera?
I think it's Kiera. I'm pretty sure it's Kiera. I don't.
Who listens to the audio?
Who's read the audiobook?
I did. Was it Kira? Wasn't it Kira?
I think it was Kira.
Kira. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Anyways, so like that was just such an interesting thing to sit down and to have him be like, I want to, take down white supremacy, but then also be using
For men.
part of white supremacy, to control his girlfriend. And I'm just like, that was my biggest issue. Like he was so controlling, so I didn't like him from the beginning. Even though I was like, I understand where you're coming from. I understand why you are frustrated with white people, and I totally 100% respect your reasons for feeling this way. But like how he was treating Kiera, especially when he started getting controlling and like I better not show you possessive and all that. I'm sitting there going, oh, this is not good.
Yeah.
Like I remember there was.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It wasn't his views for me that were the issue.
Yeah.
It was the fact that other people aren't allowed to have a difference of opinion, and that to me in general is my main issue with I don't care if you have different thoughts and perspectives from me. I don't care. You have your views and I have mine, and that's okay. And we can talk about those differences and talk about, our own opinions. But when you can't talk about them and you can't have your own views and opinions, that's when I have a problem.
When you're
silenced, that was my thing to me.
Yeah.
Right. It's like if you don't agree with him, then you are therefore
wrong,
the worst, and you are the problem. And that to me, that was when I was like, nah.
Mm-hmm.
No, the big takeaway from it is, like, especially with the views, obviously, like, none of us are black, so we're not going to have, like, we're not, like, I don't want to, like, take his feelings and his views, but we talk about, like, how he doesn't have, like, he won't allow others to have a difference of opinion. We do have to remember that he's 17 years old.
Yeah, that is one. Like
none of us are 17 years old, but when I was 17, I felt the same way, and I was like, "Oh, think this way."
Everything is so like ridiculous.
It's very black and white when you're a kid.
Yeah. My biggest problem was not that he was so certain that he was right. Although, like, since he's a guy, he's less likely to grow out of that. And so that is concerning. But, like, the big red flag for me is how he's trying to control Kiera and how he's trying, like,
the domestic
side
of that.
Yeah, that
I
whole
agree.
He's become misogynistic and kind of, like, he is terrorizing her. And I didn't realize how early on he is working on that with her.
From day one.
Yeah, from day one. And I didn't realize that.
And can we also talk about the fact that she is so submissive to it?
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't stand up for her own thoughts. She doesn't even, like, really consider her own thoughts on things that he talks about sometimes. Some of those things, she just kind of, like, never really said what she thought.
But not
or
like,
even considered what her own... Yeah, she didn't really consider her own opinion about some of those things. She just kind of, like, let it be.
Yeah.
And that message of, like, in the end, her coming to terms with the issues within her relationship and coming to terms with the issues within, that whole situation.
Yeah.
And, taking action to protect herself is so incredibly important, regardless of what kind of, issues you're having within a relationship. If you don't feel like you can even think about something enough to have your own opinion, let alone voice your opinion if you have one, like, that dynamic and that conversation is so important. It doesn't matter what the issue is. And really appreciated the way that was addressed.
Okay. We've got some sort of background noise that's going on. Can you guys hear it? Oh.
Yep.
It's Christine.
Stop moving, every person and every dog.
Good luck with that. And Doyle comes.
Do any of you see Doyle making that much noise? You do not. And he's literally 17 times your size.
One thing,
He's younger than you, except for Kat.
something that you touched on, Bree, when you were talking was about, like, I felt so sad for Kira about how she felt like she couldn't tell anyone about this game that she was doing. Like, there was that just, like, I was like, is there no one in your life that you trust enough to, like, talk about this with?
Yeah.
Like, I can see kind of her sister, I guess, because she's her younger sister, but it was just, like, weird.
Younger sisters are notoriously terrible.
There was like, in the beginning where she was, fully embracing herself and using certain words, and her mom was the one that was like, said something about it, or like, kind of looks down on it, and that's just all part of the experience, like the racial experience that certain people have, like that Black people have, like other people have. Yeah. And so that also could have been a factor at why she didn't tell her family, because she also recounted like, oh, well, I can't tell my sister because my sister would be picking things apart, and like, but it's true, because when you've made something, whether it be food or a game or whatever, you don't want somebody to like stomp all over it. That would just hurt your feelings. So like, I kind of understand, but at the same time, I'm like, you should have just at least told somebody in your family.
Yeah, I can't imagine how she was able to do all of that without her parents knowing. Like, I would not have been able to do all that without my parents knowing. No. I would have needed my parents for help.
Yeah.
Part of the, like, I don't know if you want to call it suspension of disbelief, because I'm sure that it's possible, but like the fact that a 17-year-old came up with the large majority of this massive virtual reality world and game is a little bit, I don't know, I don't want to say like hard to believe, but yeah, kind of.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I mean,
not
necessarily, because I mean, Margaret, you could probably attest to this too, but I mean, look at MySpace. When you're coding and trying to put music on your profile and things like that, you just take that like a few steps further, and then you have, game development.
Yeah.
So like, I can understand
further, though,
her creating such a big world. What I probably couldn't understand though is some of the more nuanced things on like why she wouldn't have a lawyer, or why she wouldn't have certain documents or things in place. But I mean, that could also just be leading up to like, her age.
Yeah, that's all her age.
And if she'd had parents with her, she would have had those things. Like if she told them. So I think that her not trusting people was a bit of plot necessity.
Yeah. And it also leads into her character, because she's so insecure about so much of it.
Yeah.
Like there's just so much insecurity that you see there. But yeah, you have kids at like 10, 12, 14 that are inventing entire things. So it's not a huge stretch for me that a girl could be able to create this virtual game, because they're not like, when you know what you're doing.
She did have Claire, who like literally does that as a career.
Yeah.
And in an internet world, people, especially, people who are growing up in this internet world that didn't see life before it. Yeah. People that are younger than we are, that
like a decade younger.
Yeah. This is all they've grown up in. Like, it's even more of a, like, oh, I just learned how to do this from the internet, obviously. And I just, they didn't go to, in this day and age, you don't have to go to school to learn everything. There are a lot of things you can learn from research on your own, because it's so much more accessible now. And so the ability to learn how to do the things that, and create these things, so much more easy. And, the idea of having an internet persona that is different from who you are, in real life is a lot more realistic now, because, we've seen so many people who have, started YouTube, for example, and, they do their YouTube persona and who they are on the internet versus, who they are in real life, especially people in a niche community. Like, in BookTube, a lot of people who are booktubers are, not known for being a part of the internet in their circles of who they talk to in person, because they probably started a booktube channel because they don't have any people in person to talk to books or to talk to about books. So if it's a niche like that, then it's more likely that it's easy to keep a secret.
And I do like too that like it's fiction. We can imagine big things. We can make some assumptions. And I like the idea that the thing that was imagined for this book, like maybe it's not super realistic that she would have done all of it to that extent, but like without her parents finding out, whatever. But I love that that's what we're imagining, that the fictional part of this is just like this brilliant, successful Black girl that's going to inspire other girls to try to do that and to make those kind of things real, because they're like, well, Kira did it.
Yeah, and it probably didn't start that way. I'm sure it started looking much more like Minecraft or something when she started at the beginning, because she was like 14. So I don't think she paid for people to do the coding. I think she paid for help with art and some of the design.
Which I love too, because then she's just supporting other people through the whole process.
Right.
So. I was imagining, like, for when they were talking about, like, certain worlds, I was imagining, like, Zootopia in my brain.
Yes.
I love that.
And when they were talking about, like, hippos falling through the floor, I was imagining, like, in Zootopia, like,
that's
a hippo
funny.
falling through the floor.
Love that.
And that was such a real glitch, though. That was so funny. Like, I loved it.
Because that happens in, like, Skyrim. You're walking in, and then you walk in a wall, and then all of a sudden you just see everything, and, like, you see, like, the structures, and you're like, oh, step back. That was scary for a minute.
That was an experience. That was funny. How did we feel about that twist at the end? Was everyone as just sideswiped by it being Malcolm the first time they read it as I was?
You know, at first I actually thought that we were going to get a twist that Spade was Malcolm. But then we found out who Spade actually was. And I was like, well, dang, I was wrong. And I was hoping that it was going to go that direction of us finding out that Malcolm, you know, is discovering or learning in the other direction. So I was hoping that it was going to go that way.
I wanted that at the beginning too.
It wasn't that, and I was sad. It made me a little bit sad, but I kind of like that it was that way because of the fact that because of the way that it went. Wyatt was just a dumb white kid. And he wasn't,
he wasn't trying to be villain or this like trying to be a racist or
right. Like, he was just a dumb white boy who said dumb white boy things. Yeah. And that's okay, because he learned. He grew from it, the experience of being a dumb white boy. And sure, he's still dumb and he's still a white boy, but he's a little bit less dumb. And that's, progress is progress. Yeah.
It also would have given him way too much credit to think he knew who Dred Scott was.
Yeah. That's true. Like looking back, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense that it's not Wyatt. Just, God, the fact that it was Malcolm was just like, I was rooting for you, sir, at the beginning. We were all rooting for you. And I'm just like, what?
No, he was not.
I wasn't.
First sentence, I was like, this guy's a dick.
You know what? I'm rooting for Malcolm in life. I want Malcolm to find a community where he's supported and where he's loved, and not where he's meant to feel like literally everything, like playing a video game is life and death with a books to read. Like, I want him to find a community where he's truly supported, because clearly he's lacking that support. But I was but I was never ever rooting for him and Kira because of that episode in Dear White People with that, where they explained the kind of there's an episode where they're very Malcolm-like character and they explain the ideology really well, and I clocked him right away for that. And then they kept being like, my queen, we're gonna go live together and have babies, and like, don't do anything for yourself. And I was like,
when I read this, the first time I ever heard the word Hotep was watching Jessie from Bow Ties and Books review of the book, and she was like, this is it, or they were like, this is it. And so it was just like, the second time around is a lot easier to see how toxic he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder
Because,
at
like,
what point he became that. Like, what in his life,
I don't
other than the what he consumed in media, like, I wonder like what influences he's had in his life
it was
that,
probably,
you
it's
know,
more
inspired
like,
his direction.
it's probably more so just a impression that maybe he heard as a young kid from like an
Right.
uncle or an aunt or something like that. Because like I mean, me personally, we do experience a certain identity politics of like, you know, like if for every Malcolm there's like every kind of racial Malcolm that there is, because like there are Native
Yeah.
Malcolms that are just the same, just like that. And so you know, eventually there is, you know, Malcolm's not going to be that way forever.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what they tried to say, that he's not going to be that way forever. He, at some point in his life, he's going to come into like, you know, into a certain part of his life, and he's going to realize, oh wow, I was a dick, you know.
Yeah.
Which
Hopefully. There was a part of me, and like, we'll get into this, but there was a part, because I'm a Capricorn and I like seeing people kind of get their comeuppance.
Wait, sorry. You're a Capricorn?
Yes, I only mention it every other live show. It's in there 4 times.
I have dogs, by the way. Did you know I have dogs?
Yes, we can hear them. Anyways, there was a part of me that really wanted to have a confrontation between Kira and Malcolm. However, as an adult, I have to sit down and recognize that would have been a very unsafe situation for her. So like, while me as a reader wanted that, I have to also recognize this is setting a much better precedent for readers.
Yeah, it really showed how you should deal with a dangerous situation or with a toxic situation, that you need to step away from it, and you need to make sure
call
that
your
you
sister.
and the people, call your sister,
Sorry,
step
Margaret.
away from the situation. And
I don't have
if it's, you know, that extreme to where it's dangerous for other people, then you need to, you know, take measures to protect other people, not just yourself, from that situation. And so I really like how it dealt with that, because personally, in some experiences of people around me, knowing that, you know, like what I know of like some family members who have been in toxic situations before, you know, if they don't know how to take care of themselves and they don't learn how to take care of themselves, then it can be dangerous, not just for them, but also the people around them. And so inspiring and encouraging people and showing the right way to deal with toxic situations, you know, I think that was a really good message to send.
What I would also say too, as for just like why we said like why is Malcolm like this? He's expelled from a school where he was one of many Black children, and sent to a high school where he is one of 3 and the only Black male. And he's made to feel dangerous. He's made to feel unwanted. He's made to feel like the other. And at the same time, he gets into reading a lot of these mid-20th century scholars who the answer to what was happening, and this is not for me to critique their viewpoints, but for me to just say, was creating the Black equivalent of the white family, this upstanding it was assimilationist logic rather than anti-racist logic, which is one way of looking at things. It's not something I believe in at all, but having never been and never will be in Malcolm's situation, you see when he and Kira met, he was a very different person. And then this change happens in his life. And this is where he goes to that. So I don't think he's a bad person. I don't think he'll end up believing that. I think he is desperately needing guidance. And where Kira had her sister, Kira had her game, Kira had friends like Harper, everyone. Malcolm had books. Like he only had like this revolutionary rhetoric. And so, and for him, like every day is life and death. So I think that
either way that you look at it, it is a huge culture shock. And so it's like, you know, until you've gone through something like that, it's really hard to, you know, say what should have or should not have happened either way. True.
And also you have to think because like Christine mentioned, it's mid 20th century, and there was a very decided attitude towards women at that point. Exactly. So as good and revolutionary as some of the people he was reading, it doesn't sound like he had the intersectional feminist viewpoint to kind of balance out any misogynistic messages he might have gotten.
We don't hear him reading Angela Davis or Bell Hooks or Kimberly Crenshaw. We hear him reading male authors, and maybe one day he will. Maybe one day he'll pick up Kimberly Crenshaw. Maybe one day he'll pick up Maya Angelou and maybe he'll be like, holy shit. Right. Holy shit, I've been so wrong.
Yeah.
He's a
yeah.
But what did we all believe at 17?
Right.
So
we don't want to get into what I believed at 17 because I will get kicked off. I will be canceled by BookTube.
Yep.
And the greater internet, but 17-year-old Margaret deserved to be canceled. Well, she was 17, but
we were sheltered in our white communities of various different, and he was sheltered in his books that told him like, this is who you are, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
So I can blame him for the things he did to Kira. I can be outraged for Kira.
Yeah, exactly.
But I cannot blame him for literally any of his ideology at all.
No.
1,000%. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. No, absolutely no problem with that part.
Yeah.
So.
And again,
he was never really called out on it. Like he was never told. Actually, what you're saying is not okay. What you believe is actually a little off kilter. So he hasn't had anyone challenge it. So, when we were 17 and someone challenged us, what did we do?
Cry.
Lashed out.
Tell them that they were wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
panic attack.
That's like a whole conversation is learning how to deal with criticism.
Now, as people in our 20s and 30s, when someone says, hey, that's a little off, we're like, oh, okay. Let me take a step back, do some research, and figure out what is the correct way.
Yeah.
I have a toolbox of adult skills to deal with this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So like it's not super relevant, but I'm not gonna lie, I was in panic while I was like when she would go game and then she'd have to like listen for her parents.
Oh my
god! I was just feeling the impending doom. I was like, I just want to get this part over with because I just feel like I'm gonna get caught, and I'm not even doing anything wrong.
I know. As a child who did sneak around a lot, which there's not a lot of sneaking around you can do as a homeschooler.
Well, we did our best.
But I did a lot of my sneaking around was about food because there were certain foods I couldn't eat, but I still wanted to eat them. Right. So like my mother is still so sad about this. Yeah,
her parents thought she was up there watching porn.
My parents probably never thought. Anyways, I remember that like kind of like trying to sneak and like be aware of where your parents were, that kind of thing. Listen, guys, I used to sneak downstairs to read by the light, and one day I ended up under the desk hiding from my father because I was supposed to be in bed.
I can't.
Yeah, like I was
Mine was watching TV because we weren't allowed to watch TV as a kid.
At all?
No.
Oh my God.
My parents were in the room. But if my mom were, like, once I was in high school and my mom would, like, leave to go rent errands, you could actually, because our house was on a corner, and so you would actually see the car drive by before it would we'd, like, change the channel back to where it was originally and then turn it off and then go back into it.
Wait. So they were allowed to watch TV, but you weren't?
Yeah, they just had to be, just had to be in the room if we were watching, because obviously we would watch ABC Family, which was, against moral code.
My parents were quite that bad.
One time, my dad didn't let me watch the basilisk scene from Harry Potter 2, but one time I did. And he got mad at me, and he said, because it's scary. And I said, but Dad, I really like snakes. And he said, but it's scary. And I said, but I'm literally not afraid of snakes. And that's the only time I did that.
Y'all had a completely different upbringing, because I got to watch whatever the F.
Yeah, I'm not.
The only thing that I wasn't allowed to watch, and I still haven't seen it to this day, is the Tina Turner movie with Angela Bassett. That's the only thing I was never allowed to watch. Anything that was I was watching rated R movies at like 6-7 years old. That movie, wasn't allowed to watch it. Still haven't seen it in my lifetime.
I think, guys, my problem with sneaking around is like one time when my parents were out of town, they're like, "Don't have boys over," and I did have a boy over, and I called
Like,
my
what
mom.
are they gonna do?
I called my mom right after. I was like, "I'm so sorry, mommy. Like, I'm so sorry. I literally, I can't. I can't."
I'm embarrassed for
high
you.
school, and my parents left for a weekend, and they're like, "You're going to your aunt's for the weekend."
My mom trusted me so much. I was such a nerd. She's like, "What will Christine do? Read more?"
My mom was like that for the most part too. I didn't have a curfew or any of that stuff.
My mom trusted me so much.
The only time I ever had to be home by a certain time is because my mother had a bedtime. And like if you're gonna stay out past this time, you need to find somewhere to sleep because I am not waiting up for you.
I used to tell my mom, I'd be like, "Hey, Mom, I'm going to the movie theaters to sneak in and watch 2 movies illegally." And she'd be like, "Okay."
Well, she knew where you were.
Yeah, she's like, "Great." She just tells me everything she does, this dumb little bitch.
I was just so busy. I was always doing so many things that I never really had much of an opportunity to do anything that dumb. Like, so they never really put me, like, as far as like, well, yes, there were elements that were strict, but at the same time, there wasn't ever like a need for a curfew or anything because I never had time to go anywhere or do anything.
I think
that's the sad things about high school.
I generally
always just like
going on every night of the week because I was like president of the 4-H club.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Team.
Oh my God, you were in 4-H?
Yes.
I had 30 dairy goats in high school.
Did you do performing arts?
What's 4-H?
Like a debate.
Do you know what Future Farmers of America is, Christine?
Do I know what?
Future Farmers of America.
Is this a white supremacist club?
Yes, but no.
Hold on, let me see if I can.
Is that like Hitler Youth? Like
it's like a almost like the Girl Scouts or the Boy Scouts.
It's like it's Girl Scouts, but like agriculture.
Yeah, agriculture, sewing,
with a
that kind of
strong
thing.
white woman with blonde braids. She'll be able to help.
Oh, they have a black child on the front page now. Yeah, so head, heart, health, and hands, were those the 4-H's?
Oh, we have one in Ontario. Mitchell, no. Good things grow in Ontario. Actually, there is like a good things grow in Ontario. That's like a provincial commercial.
I mean,
it's Hitler Youth.
Okay, first of all, I don't like clubs.
Once, though. I did it my senior year, and I paid like $400. It was not worth it.
$400 to be a farmer?
Not necessarily, but I was in it from the time I was in 2nd grade until my junior year of high school, and then I quit because I was doing dual enrollment.
I got so many scholarships from 4-H that my first 2 years of college were paid for.
That didn't happen for me. I am jealous.
Well, I was
in Orland Terp.
State ambassador, like on the debate team, on the speech team.
See, my mother
and best friends in high school, Brianna. Best friends.
My mother thought I was a high achiever, but I'm not actually. We never actually did any high achiever things, apparently.
I completely set up and created and designed an entire livestock show one year for a scholarship.
I was home writing Finnick O'Dare fan fiction.
That was how I got my Emerald Star.
I just wanted to be included, okay?
I actually might still have some of my pins from 4-H.
I've always said, please exclude me. Don't talk to me. Like, for the love of God, I don't want to hang out after school. I just want to go home and nap.
And somehow you ended up in this group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Creating a year-long readathon.
I would have been the sunshine to your grumpy, Christine.
There's like the Christian club at school, and they used to hand out cupcakes to everyone, and I was always so annoyed. I was like, stop being cheerful.
Oh my God. You would have hated working with me at Chick-fil-A.
Did you do Awanas?
What? No, I did not do Awanas. I had friends that did Awanas, but I think that requires you to actually be involved in a church, and we weren't for most of my
We had like
2
a
years.
friend who was involved in the church, and so we just kind of like snuck in
Yeah.
on Wednesdays.
My mom never made me participate in anything because every time she tried it, I'm just miserable when I don't want to do something and I have to do
could
it.
participate in things as long as I had a ride home. That was it.
I'm pretty sure I had something going on every single night of the week.
I also had a job from the time I was 14 onwards. Like,
See, I didn't get a job till I was 17.
I had to. My mom was like, all right, you're in high school now. If you want anything that's not necessary for like you to thrive, then you're paying for it. So all those movies I illegally snuck into, that's why, man.
Where did you get a job at 14?
A daycare. Also, that's the provincially allowed age to work with a parent's permission.
I mean, technically you're allowed to work at 14 in Florida, but no one will hire you under 16 because your hours are so restricted.
Yeah.
No one
See, they
will.
do.
You could work at Culver's at 14.
They hire high school kids a lot in Ontario because you can pay them less.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so at Chick-fil-A, when I was at Chick-fil-A, they could hire as young as 14, but David wouldn't hire anyone under 16 because 14-year-olds have a much stricter thing. Like 16-year-olds, you can basically work them how you would work an adult, with the exception that like you can't schedule them during school hours.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have to be gone by a certain point on weeknights, but that was it.
This was the kind of teenager I was.
Yeah, I had a 15-year-old that worked for me a few years ago, and like the way his schedule was, it was like you can work for 3 hours, and then you have to take a 20-minute break, and then you can work for 3 more hours in a different position.
Also, have you ever talked to a 14-year-old? Mm-mm. It ain't it.
Shit.
Small,
A 14-year-old
small, infrequent doses. That's the key.
boy?
Yeah, my nephews are that age.
I'll stick with my
Small,
3-year-old.
infrequent doses.
Yeah, no.
When I got together with Calvin, his brother was like 11 years old. It was a wild ride, let me tell you what. And then we had to room together for like a couple of years.
Oh,
One time at 3:00 in the morning, he gets up and he's like, "Hey Michelle, do you want to talk?" And I'm like,
No.
"No."
The answer is no.
2 hours.
That's
What do you
just
want?
dangerous.
That's so funny.
Can we
All
just
right.
talk about life?
Do we have any
Who
other
was on the
stuff that we need to talk
bottom
about for the book?
The book?
Anything else that we need to talk about the book?
I like
The
Claire.
glasses. Her sister with the random fake glasses killed me.
Oh my god, that was so funny.
Because she's
That was
over
so
here like,
good.
I actually need to be able to see, please. And then her sister's just like, are you trying new cute glasses? Are these cuter than the other ones?
I love how defensive her
It killed
sister
me. I was dying.
I have a beautiful anecdote.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Okay, so last summer I read this book. So, okay, full disclosure. Jamie and I, this one? Oh, sorry. Jamie and I, we weren't super close growing up, but then we went to Ghana and we're really close now. And anyways,
Okay. And you
I
pull
read
on her
this-
hair.
I did.
Stop touching me. I love you. Stop touching me.
I love you. Anyways, so now we're close. But I was driving home from visiting her when I read this book, and when Steph and Kira had their moment where she's like, "I'm your sister, and I will call the police," I just started sobbing in the car, and I was like, "You fucking do it, man! Like sisters, man." Anyways,
The
that's my
sister
anecdote.
dynamic. Yeah,
So
I agree.
good.
The sister dynamic was
It's really good.
amazing. How many of us have sisters? I have a sister.
Margaret, you can be my sister.
Okay, I have a younger
Margaret,
sister.
we are
who's
all your
15. I also have a younger brother. But it was similar for us too. Like we were close
Yeah.
until I went to college.
Me and my sister have always been best
My
friends.
fingers are down.
What's happening, Christine?
He handed me apple crisp.
Nice.
Oh man, wait, Alex, I want some too.
Alex, can you send some to Florida?
You're right now.
My mom keeps threatening to make some because we have a big old bushel of apples.
Threatening.
but-
Threatening.
Yeah. You have to understand, my mother buys way too much food.
I'm gonna make that apple crisp and I'm gonna put rat poison in it. Threatening to make apple crisp.
Oh my god.
She makes it without sugar, Christine.
Two
Ew,
younger sisters.
Who does that?
Or she makes them low sugar. And we're just like, why?
At least use brown sugar.
Yeah.
We're all gonna die someday. Just put the fucking sugar in, please.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And
I don't want to live long. That sounds tiring.
sounds
With the health issues my dad has been having, yes, it does.
But like the sister dynamic was super good, and I
love
really
it.
appreciated the fact that it showed that like the older sister younger sister thing,
That was
or
so
the older
weird.
sibling younger sibling thing can definitely, because
Can
like
be
for me,
reversed.
my sister is older, but she is more introverted. So like when she almost like stayed home and commuted for college, and I was like, absolutely not. You have to get out of this house. Go now. And it was like I was like trying to force her and encourage her to like go, so she would like, you know, blossom like the beautiful little flower she is. But like, you know, a sibling relationship can like flip-flop from what is expected
I
of
agree.
an older or younger sibling, and I
Yeah.
really
Especially as
appreciated
you get
how
older.
this showed that, because there were elements in both directions for this set of sisters. They, you know, there were elements where she was the older stereotypically, and there were elements where she was the younger stereotypically. And it like I really appreciated that part of it, because a lot of times that isn't really addressed in, you know, in the whole, it's like there are these like set things that we have to be if you're the older or you're the younger, and I liked that it kind of blew that.
Well, it was funny because there were
whatever.
times that I questioned, is Steph the older sister? Like for
Right.
Steph, like she is so type A, overachiever, has to
Yeah.
get it perfect, older sibling to me. That like when I read it the first time, I actually thought she was the older one. I'm gonna be honest.
You know, I didn't see her as type A. I saw her as somebody that just like walks easily through social situations.
Yeah.
Where Kira is like the brilliant perfectionist, but doesn't walk easily through.
Like Betty.
Well, I just was like looking at like all of the things that she was involved in, and to me, that tends to be older sibling, because you're the first one. The parents are much more like, we need to have you involved in this and this and this, and you need to worry about college, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. And so there was very much like,
but I think part of
like
your
felt
parents
that
were-
experience. Yeah.
I think that was just that part of their parents' mentality, and just kind of putting on making both of them.
Yeah.
Their parents were so chill.
Their parents are really cool.
Right?
They
I
she
liked
has
their
great
parents.
parents.
They were great. And
I also
really liked they were.
What?
Go. Somebody go. Whoever wants to go.
Go,
No,
Michelle.
mine was
Michelle,
totally,
okay.
mine thing kind of changed the subject, but no, I like the I liked when they brought in like the different perspectives of like
Yes.
the family aspect of it, that kind of ties in, like the expert that like spoke out about it, and then realizing like, oh, this game isn't as bad as I thought it was, because I didn't know anything about it, and then
Expert.
his nephews also played the game, and then being like, oh,
Can we talk about the fact that they got a white civil rights scholar?
Oh my god.
You knew they got him on that show simply because he
That's
would
typical.
agree with them.
That's
I
typical.
know. I'm just like,
Who else was
I just feel like that's an oxymoron.
Fox News?
yeah.
I really feel like a
Totally.
white civil rights person in general, like to come and speak, like it just sounds like an oxymoron to me. A white civil rights professor or scholar, it just sounds like
Like
an oxymoron.
if you were a true scholar of civil rights and you were
Someone else go, you decline the interview.
well, when you get that
Yeah.
call, you're like, actually, I have a whole list of people that would be better than me.
Here's my black, brown, whatever colleague
Yeah.
that actually knows what the fuck they're talking about. So
that
like,
literally.
Like that was 100% Fox News.
Because like
Yeah.
if you are an activist or an advocate for civil rights, then
You
you would want the right voice to speak for any situation, So if it was about women, then you would seek out a woman. If it was about a minority culture or a minority race, then you would seek out somebody who applies to that, and you would have friends and colleagues that you communicate with and learn from that are those things, because that's how you really are able to be an advocate in any kind of civil rights situation and know what you're talking about is by communicating with people who actually experience it, not just reading it from a book that's
all
probably
I should
written
be
by a white man.
is the Bluetooth speaker that makes your voice louder.
Yeah.
Don't play my music. Play yours on my speaker.
Yeah, that was like, you just knew that they went out and they found someone who was going to agree with them and be that. And I was just like, you are a disgrace to white people.
Yep. You gotta hate those people that make the rest of the people look bad.
White people are just a disgrace. That's it. End of sentence. The very concept of white identity is racist and a disgrace.
Yes. Hi, let's talk about phrenology. I have a good podcast for that.
I heard that this one has a ton of trigger warnings though, so just like be careful going into it.
Oh, can you share which ones?
It does talk about like police brutality, I think.
Okay.
Just know that. Bethany is reading it this week, I think, so she'll have a really good in-depth review. Because she's always really good about doing triggers.
Yeah.
I've been trying, and sometimes it's hard when you're like reading a scene that's upsetting, but it's so specifically upsetting. Yeah. Like it's like a trigger warning for someone falling and hurting their knee really badly, and it's graphic, but it's not like bad, but it upset me and made me nauseous, and I want you to know about that.
I have
that.
Some of them can be so specific
for migraines, and it was 100% accurate, and it was like there was an actual scene of like the migraine aura and like what you feel before you get a migraine, and I was like, if I don't have chronic migraines, this isn't triggering, but I'm so glad that trigger warning was in there because I knew
because you just don't know what like weird uncomfortable scene could really get someone, and so I'm always like,
I try to list anything that might possibly make another person uncomfortable. I'm like,
I'm the same
trigger warning for poorly bred dogs. Trigger warning for ketchup. Disgusting. Trigger warning for expensive alcohol at bars.
I try to do like the broad. When I'm talking about trigger warnings, I'll try to be like trigger warning for like child death or trigger warning for abuse, sexual assault, animal death, like things that don't really spoil anything, but they also say, hey, if you've been in this situation, you might have issues with this.
Pregnancy loss is always the hardest one for me to like phrase properly too, because I'm always like, it's not like a miscarriage, it's not a stillbirth, it's like, this is just a hard topic. Be warned. Like,
I wish they did that for TV shows too.
Infertility and things like that.
Exactly. Yeah, TV shows need it. There was an episode of Grey's Anatomy that like with pregnancy.
Every episode of Grey's Anatomy needs a trigger.
Okay, but the one with April and Jackson's baby, like. Destroyed my mom.
Oh, that one.
Yes,
I remember.
And the one with what's her name? Derek's sister's baby.
Amelia.
Yeah. It's like maybe these should have warnings because these are very real and upsetting situations.
Well, a lot of those come up because a lot of those come out because they're wanting to tackle that topic specifically.
Totally get it. They just something.
There needs to be a trigger warning right now for definitely for the resident and for 911 because there's a lot of like pregnancy things happen and like for me it's definitely like child loss and stuff and it sucks because like when you've gone through something so traumatic that when you see that start to happen in a show, you're like, I'm not even going to watch this now because it's going to remind me of everything.
Yep.
Yeah. So, like, we just really need those kind of trigger warnings for, even if it's remotely upsetting, we need it.
Because I feel like the TV gives you, it's like, this program contains violence and sex and sometimes even cursing.
There are websites that will do trigger warnings for things like Grey's Anatomy and like there are very specific. But it's a third party that's doing it that watches it, and
they're not getting paid for that.
No. Well,
you see ad revenue on the blog, Netflix, like, where you see like the top corner.
Yeah, but it's usually pretty vague.
Right.
I was gonna watch Lady and the Tramp with Soren, and it comes up with like this show animal abuse, blah blah blah, and we don't. Something about how like they don't.
Is it just because the animals are like strays?
No, I think it was talking about like the way that animals are handled in the movie. But it was like there was a screen that came up, and it was like rather than removing it, we want to teach blah 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 blah. And
they did that. They did that one with the original Lady and the Tramp. They did. They talked with the Siamese twins. They said that this is culturally insensitive, but rather than removing this scene, we're just putting a warning.
Mm-hmm. They did that with a lot of apparently cartoon shows.
Yeah, a lot of
they did for your whole entire last presidency too. Some content may be offensive, but rather than remove it, we're just gonna write it out.
It's one of those things that like we really should not like forget about it, but I wish we could.
Muzzled? They're calling muzzled animal abuse? Muzzled.
Mm-hmm.
Muzzled is animal? Nobody better find out how I treat my dogs.
I was like, my dogs have been muzzled.
Yeah. Right, it's just safe. It's a safety precaution.
That's actually how they make smart choices.
I advocate for my dog and ensure the best for them always. By making sure they know how to wear a muzzle if they need to.
Yeah.
My problem is that they don't make St. Bernard-sized muzzles.
Yeah, that's a problem.
A little bit of a
They have short, wide faces.
Oh, no. But, like, yeah, you owned a husky. Of course you'd have to own a muzzle. Like, just necessary.
Yeah. She was very good at getting it off.
Of course she was.
All right. Is there anything else we want to discuss?
Muzzles. I use an e-collar, and when my dog's bad, I hold that shit down.
What
Muzzles.
movies are we watching next month?
Hulk
and Thor.
Hulk next summer. And the date of
I'm really excited for Thor.
February by Karen Licks.
Sorry.
Hopefully you guys are still friends with me because you think that this is a good book and it's not terrible.
Well, I'm excited to start the audiobook literally as soon as it's March.
It can't be much worse than Last Waltzed on Read, can it?
No, honestly, it can be a lot worse than
the book was.
Because, like, well, see, but the thing is that one, we went into it and, like, we didn't know what we were getting into. This one, we at least expected to be alright because you like it.
Yeah. So, like, it's not
worse. It'll be okay.
At worst, you'll just be bored.
Right? See, we can live with that.
Wait, is it not available on Disney Plus?
I just rent everything on Netflix.
No, it is not.
I mean, I just rent everything on YouTube.
Oh God, do we have to skip it? Oh, frick. Oh God. I'm just so disappointed. Watch it on these.
Well, if you Google it will come up with like a watch options.
Yeah, we'll try to post.
Yeah,
we'll try to post some ways to find it.
Yeah.
On Discord and Twitter for sure. We'll investigate and try to find some options for y'all because
this says from $3.99. You can usually rent on YouTube, so that's what I do.
Yeah, that's what I always do. Is I just rent it on YouTube.
Yeah, you can rent on. It's available to rent on YouTube, Amazon,
Vudu,
Hulu, probably.
It's not on Hulu, and it's not on
Hulu.
Look for that.
I know it's not on Netflix, but
Is it on it? Let's check Amazon right now because girl is a Prime member. I can't find the place for videos.
And you can always ask a friend, phone a friend, and see if you have any friends that have.
Because some people have old DVDs.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Do you guys have DVD players?
Yes, you don't?
No, I don't have a single disc drive in my house.
Wait, but don't you have a PlayStation or an Xbox?
Wow.
I'm 23. I don't have
some of y'all kids live in the world.
We download things here.
But again, it is The Incredible Hulk is the one that you want to watch because that's the one that's officially part of the
2008 movie.
Yes. Make sure that you watch the right one.
No, 2008.
Otherwise, you'll be like confused during the chat, like what we're talking about. You'd be like, what?
And this is where we enter. What did we call it? Fury's Week of Hell.
Yeah.
Fury's Week of Hell? What's that?
Hulk and Thor all happened at basically the same time.
Yeah, they were all kind of
Yeah.
in the same timeline, like within a week or so. All of this.
It's
stuff
not
happened.
what I would call the best time.
Would any of us call it the best time?
Maybe Thunderbolt Ross.
Mitchell Arg pirate. I mean,
Yeah, I'm definitely going to illegally watch that, but for legal purposes, no, I'm not.
I'm sure.
I would
there's
like to get monetized.
I mean,
don't know. I
I don't-
about that right now.
I mostly don't watch illegally because you never know what's going to be like downloaded to your computer on those sites.
That's true.
So
I
YouTube,
have a pretty
can
good
at least-
antivirus and a good knack for picking. I've been doing this since I was a wee lass. And my mom
okay.
let me watch Heroes on the TV. We didn't have NBC, you see, so I had to go watch Heroes online.
That's on Amazon. We just finished watching it.
I was in love with Peter Petrelli. And when I say in love, I mean,
I
I
thought
once told my dad I would never, ever forget about him.
I liked season 1, but like after that, I was like, so that's convenient. He has a power that could easily stop this, but he just conveniently forgets it.
Yeah.
So there's
It's not on Prime Canada. The Hulk isn't on Prime Canada.
Well,
So,
that's disappointing.
Well done.
ExpressVPN is this little. This video is now sponsored by ExpressVPN. Do you know that you can change your location to anywhere on Earth?
Oh, exciting.
Make things a lot easier.
Yes.
But then
Yeah, so
again,
your
it might
physical
also
body
be
will still
because
remain
I
in this
sit down
tundra.
far from him.
unfortunately. we can't
I have
go to
another anecdote. Margaret, this isn't for you, baby. I had a dream last night that my mom was like, hey, Christine, we're going to Miami for business. Want to come? And I was like, hell yeah, I want to come. Margaret can meet prior. And then I was like, wait, Miami's like far from where you live.
Like 7 hours.
That was my dream.
I am quite thoroughly in the middle of Florida, so it's 7 hours to get to the end of the state and 7 hours to get out of the state on a good day.
Anyways, we can meet somewhere in between Miami and the middle of the state, just for you.
Okay. Okay.
in your dream.
Okay.
In my dream, yeah, it can't be in real life because the borders aren't open. But like, it can
None
be
of
in the
you
dream.
would ever go to
We-
South Dakota.
We can't all go to
I'll come to
Kansas.
South Dakota. I'll come.
Okay, but we're not going to Mount Rushmore.
I was gonna
Okay,
say
you don't
we
have
moved
to.
Mount Rushmore, but we don't
We're
have
going
to.
to Crazy Horse instead.
Okay,
Fuck
that sounds good.
yeah. Okay, listen.
Although,
Of course, I will come to South
Christine,
Dakota.
I
Mount
wouldn't
Rushmore
mind
sucks.
mooning a dead president. So maybe
I
you
would
and I
love-
will
Oh
do
my
that.
God.
I would love to go there and cause an absolute scene.
Yes. Let's do it.
I
Like, let me bring a red flag and start singing Les Mis at Mount Rushmore.
I'll see it with you. Let me
The
rehearse.
park rangers will arrest me. I'll have been arrested in a foreign country, and I'll just be like, I'm Canadian. You have to extradite me back
Here's
home.
what you do. Here's what you do if that happens. You just find a distraction, you run away, and then you go to like my reservation and hide out at my grandma's house.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yes.
I mean, look at
Perfect.
Shia LaBeouf. He did that, so I mean, I can do it too.
And
he
he's
also-
a great role model based on all the abuse we've heard of.
Oh
Was he
yeah.
also mooning Mount Rushmore?
No, he got injured while he was doing a movie or something like that, and instead of like going to the hospital and whatever, he ran off and he went to the Pine Ridge reservation, and there were pictures of him all over like native Facebook, and we were like, okay guys, we need to keep our houses clean, get out the nice plates, because you never know where he's gonna end up. It's like a running joke.
That's so funny.
Wow.
Good times.
On that note,
Yes.
I think
What a chaotic life show.
I think we have made it to the end, have we?
yeah.
I think so. After 2.5 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've exhausted useful topics.
I'm starting to get dehydrated.
I think we've even
Again.
exhausted most non-useful topics.
I mean, we're talking about mooning dead presidents, so yeah, probably.
Still useful.
And live ones.
I really don't want to moon
Oh,
Trump.
God.
Not Trump.
He
God, I
doesn't,
don't
he
want to.
doesn't
I don't
get
want.
that.
I don't
Or
want things that are
Biden.
relevant around anywhere
They're-
near him.
Literally, all of them are too old for me to feel comfortable. Like, give me a young hot president, I'll do
But Jimmy
it.
Carter's still alive. I'd moon Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter was actually
Bush.
not that bad.
I'd moon all of them except Obama. I even moon Biden. I do it.
I believe you wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
Okay.
So that's all we got, folks.
I've got to do bullet journal stuff.
We actually have to end the live show.
Let's end the
We
live
do.
Bye.
Press the button. Bye.
Bye.